What's up, Chicago, and welcome to another edition of the Halas Hall Hangover with four-star Chicago sports. I am Brandon. This is Dustin. Dustin, what's going on, man?
What up? How we doing?
You may see, guys, we are short a couple of our hosts tonight. They are at the Cubs game. Lucky them, but that's all right. We'll press on without them, guys. We want to talk a little bit about, well, the two candidates that the Bears were looking at probably closest over the offseason was Ben Johnson and Mike Vrabel. Will this Bears fan base do what they usually do and compare the two the entirety of the season? And Dustin, want to talk a little bit about some things that might spoil the Bears season outside of injuries. All that and more, guys, after this.
Good job, Brandon.
Thanks, man.
Hello again, everybody, and hi. Welcome to the
Sean
Halas
and I
Hall
kind
Hangover.
of, Sean and I, guys.
Hello again, everybody, and welcome to another episode. Yeah, we got to get the Sean vibes going a little bit.
Yeah, get the energy up, man. Get it flowing. What's going on, guys? Thanks for joining us once again for the Halas Hall Hangover. It is just me and Dustin tonight, but that's all right. We got a lot to talk about. We actually found some pretty quality topics to discuss over the course of this show, Dustin. I'm excited about this one.
Are you
I
sure?
think
We'll
so.
see. I don't know. We'll find out.
think
Hopefully,
so.
the chat has some shit too. This could
Yeah,
be
you never know until you know, right?
extra minimum-y episode of the bare minimum.
Let's give a shout out to the guys we already got in the chat, Dustin. Relentless Mikey, we see you. We appreciate you.
Breaking
Bruce,
news,
as always. Bruce, what's going on, brother? And I guess we'll just go talk about the chat, Dustin. We'll just kick it off with Relentless Mikey just dropped in here right now. I did read a little bit about this. And Mikey,
He
you're the first.
says Jerry Jones is smack talking Micah Parsons. We have a contract that is completely upside down for the Bears. Yeah, Tremaine Edmonds. Trade him and a third round pick for Micah Parsons. We could actually pay Parsons, he says. What do you say to that, Brando?
Well, you pointed out, and I'll agree with you. That's nowhere near the package that's going to land you a guy like
multiple first round picks for Micah Parsons,
and probably Montez Sweat and Tremaine Edmonds.
To get you mentioned the fact that the contract's upside down at Tremaine Edmonds. To get someone to take him, you probably have to give up a draft pick just to get him off your books. Like nobody's like, yeah, bring me Tremaine Edmonds and his ridiculous contract. That's a pipe dream, Relentless Mikey. And sorry, man, you need multiple first to pull a guy like Micah Parsons, and I would highly doubt they would want Tremaine Edmonds back in that deal. Personally.
Yeah, and it begs the question, something we discussed over the course of last year, Dustin. The Cowboys kind of went all in on their offense. They paid Dak Prescott, they paid CeeDee Lamb, and are they in a position now where they could possibly lose a guy like Micah Parsons? I don't know. But I do know this. I mean, and I don't know.
It'd be hard for them to pay him. Jerry Jones is posturing because the money is tight. They're paying all these guys. Yeah. They paid CeeDee, they paid Dak. Micah's that other guy, and he's an important piece of your team.
He's the guy I would have probably paid first and foremost.
When you talk about what Jerry Jones, yeah, me too, probably. But when you're talking about what Jerry Jones is now, CeeDee Lamb, I would say personally. But when you're talking about what Jerry Jones is doing, the posturing in the media, he's playing hardball a little bit. This is part of the negotiations. You don't see guys
he's the most public of all ownership in the NFL.
Yeah, and there's a method to that madness, Brandon. And Micah Parsons is a very public persona as well. He has podcasts. He's constantly on shows.
He's a big Caleb Williams fan on his Twitter.
He says an awful lot out loud to everybody that would listen. So, I mean, like, there's going to be a lot of back and forth posturing between the team and Micah Parsons, I would imagine. And this is just going to be part of that process with the way the NFL is now, the way media is now.
Yeah, real quick, like I said, guys, Sean and Kyle went to the Cubs game, and my phone just pitched me the lineup for tonight. There's no PCA.
Oh, that sucks.
Ouch. That does suck.
PCA is MIA. Goddamn.
That's the guy.
That's the guy you want to see. Yeah, that's the guy you want to see. You're going to the Cubs game for sure.
I'm sure they're not thrilled about that, but hey, it's still fun all the same, right?
Yeah, it's a beautiful day to be at Wrigley, man.
There is a method to Jerry Jones' madness. I don't know that it's the best method, man. He hasn't proven to be very good at this, to be honest with you, man. The contract.
You think it's the best red man?
What?
He said, I don't know if it's the best method, man. Best,
Oh, nice.
best red.
The
Sorry, go
nice,
ahead.
the best RZA that he could offer. Yeah, I don't know, man. He's very public, which is not something ownership usually does. Like you don't hear George McCaskey talking about contracts in the media, but like you said, man, I mean, I think he's trying to put it on blast. And he did, he mentioned the fact that he did this before. He had a stalemate with a player that kind of was kind of forced to return, and Emmett Smith after 2 games, and they ended up going on to win a Super Bowl. So if he is trying to strong arm Micah Parsons, he has proof that it's worked from before. I don't know that that's the player I would play games with. I could see Micah Parsons has an attitude to me, man, where he'll just leave. Like he'll request a trade and get the hell out of there. But I will say this,
Guys
man.
like that don't change teams very often, Brandon. I'll just continue to say that.
I'll say this. I don't know. I don't know if it benefits you to talk about Dak Prescott's lack of attendance from last season after getting paid. I don't know if that's going to make Dak Prescott your biggest fan. I mean, you
EJ,
kind of want a good relationship with your starting quarterback, and I'm sure that statement didn't make Dak pleased to read that. You know what I mean?
man,
He
I'll
basically
say
said,
this.
I paid this guy a bunch of money and he didn't even show up. That's basically what he said
Well,
about
yeah,
it.
injuries are going to happen in the NFL, man. But Jerry Jones is who he is. When you work for Jerry Jones, you got to understand that this is the way it's going to be. Jerry Jones was just on The Landman. You know, he's acting now. Like Jerry Jones is a public figure. He is the most public owner that there is in the NFL and one of the most public owners in sports. Period.
Very close
So
friends with Roger Goodell too.
that is going to be what it is when you play for the Cowboys and Jerry Jones is the owner. So fucking deal with it. I think these players do just as much talking out in public. And I mean, there's going to be some back and forth here. At the end of the day, Micah Parsons, I believe, will get signed. But if he were to get traded, Brandon, you're going to need to give up an arm and a leg to get that guy on your team. You are not
Well,
giving
at
up
the end,
Tremaine Edmonds and a 3rd round pick. You need your next 2 to 3 first round picks to pull a guy like Micah Parsons, a young premier edge rusher in the NFL. He's an all-pro player, like at one of the most important positions in football.
and
You
he
are
does more
not
than
getting
just
that for
rush the
cheap.
pass. I mean, he's pretty special. And that's why the reality is, Dustin, at the end of the day, you're a much worse
Exactly,
football.
DJ.
You're a much worse football team without Micah Parsons. And I'm sure that
No
Jerry
doubt.
Jones understands that.
Jerry Jones, I mean, as much, I mean, and listen, you want to give me examples from the 1990s of when you went to a Super Bowl and this is how you did it? Like, well, it's been an awful long time since you've been back there, bro. So, like, maybe some of the stuff you're doing is not working. As DJ points out here, he habitually pays his players too late, which is bad for his team and it's bad for the players. I mean, at the end of the day, like, get it out of the way earlier and build your team up. And I don't know, man. I think that eventually Micah Parsons gets paid, as you're saying. Jerry Jones, as much as the team has not been consistently, winning, like competing the way they want to for Super Bowls, he's not dumb. He knows what you just said, that Micah Parsons makes your team better. Period. End of story. And so that's the kind of guy you pay, and he will get paid. But he's going to do everything he can to chip away at the amount, just like Micah Parsons going to do everything he can to push that amount up. And at the end of the day, the play on the field is going to dictate it.
And he did relate to when asked about this, guys, when he, like I said, he's been pretty public about it. He did relate to guarantees an awful lot. So this seems like another one of those contract negotiations where the player just wants more guaranteed. I don't
Well,
blame
that's what
Micah
it's going to be
Parsons.
in the NFL across the board, Brandon.
Yeah, no, I said, like we
we've
said
been
on the
talking
Hangover
about it.
last week,
Yeah.
this is becoming this is going to blow up, man.
And NFL players, if they're going to die on any hill, it needs to be the guaranteed money hill. You need to stand up for your guaranteed money, because like these contracts can look real big, but then when you start digging into them, the amount of money they're getting is not what that contract is reported. So I would say that what NFL players need, given how physically demanding and injury riddled their sport is, they need the guaranteed money. That's the most important thing, and that's going to be the next CBA. That will be the sticking point between these players and owners, because the owners try to give out as little of that as possible, and the players are trying to get all of it. And I don't blame them. The players should get guaranteed money. All these other sports do. So,
yeah, just relentless, Mikey. I'll say this: Mike Parsons is a player I would love to have on this football team, but until there's any report of Mike Parsons asking out of Dallas, I'm not something I'm going to speculate on, and I really don't know that the Bears are ready to throw their hat in that kind of pool. But you should be. You should be if a guy like that.
yeah, you better be ready for something like that if it's a possibility. Listen, that's not happening. I don't see that, but who knows? Crazier things have happened. I want to shout out everybody in the chat, DJ Prophet, John S, V Dog, Relentless Mikey, Breaking News Bruce, everybody for checking in, everybody watching. If you got something to say, please say it. We want to hear it and we want to talk about it. Hit that like button if you have not already. Make sure you're subscribed if you are not already, or you're missing out. So we got some topics we want to get into. Brandon, lead the way, and let's move on to what we wanted to get to and see what the chat thinks about it.
Yeah, first things first, Dustin. We've seen a kind of a strange trend in the fan base in Chicago as of late, man. It seems very divided when one party likes the guy and one party doesn't. They almost start to act like they're rooting for different teams, is what it felt like during the Justin Fields debacle. And after Fields left, every mistake that Caleb Williams made, we had to read it online or see his stats posted, and they compared Justin Fields' 4-2 record in Pittsburgh and the stats he'd thrown, how many touchdowns he had, to Caleb Williams and his stats here in Chicago. And so my question for you is this: especially if Ben Johnson has a slow start to his career, let's say he's 2-5, and you look at Mike Vrabel over there in New England, who's been there, done that, and he's 5-2, or what's 4-3, whatever it might be. Will the noise start? Will we start to hear the noise in Chicago? I would assume we will. That's why I'm getting ahead of this topic now. I think this is something that's going to come up time and time again throughout the course of the season, and is it deservingly so, Dustin? If Mike Vrabel gets that team on lock with New England, if he's winning football games, if he's doing what we thought he could do here in Chicago, and Ben Johnson is not, is there any merit to comparing the two?
There's a lot to get into, Brendan, and a few things popped in my head, so I'll just start with those. The first thing is those comparisons happen across sports in general. It's not just in Chicago, right? Like if you're drafted in the same year, you're a quarterback and you get drafted in the same year as this other quarterback, your careers will be compared for the rest of your time in playing. And that's just the way that goes, and that competition is what makes sports fun. So those things will be compared. In Chicago, it does seem particularly divisive, especially when you think back to the Justin Fields, Caleb Williams situation. I can agree with you there. When it comes to the Vrabel, Ben Johnson thing, the two things that pop in my head are this. Yes, those two will be compared. There were a lot of people clamoring for Ben Johnson. There were a lot of people clamoring for Mike Vrabel because they had two different ideas of how you eat this elephant that was turning around this Bears organization. The likelihood that Vrabel is more successful early on than Ben Johnson is high. It's high because Mike Vrabel has pedigree. Mike Vrabel has experience. Mike Vrabel has done this with the team before and turned it around. The offseason moves, they favor the Bears. The Bears have added more talent to this roster than the Patriots did to that roster. Both teams improved.
And both coaches look like they had a major influence over the
100%. Both coaches got in there and said, these are the guys that I need to win. And they got a good portion of them. The Patriots had a killer draft, not as great of a free agency, but they've added players. That offensive line is still very suspect to me. That's why I say there's a difference between what the Bears have done and what the Patriots have done. The Bears have impacted their offensive line a lot more than the Patriots did. And I thought the Patriots offensive line was just as bad, if not worse, than the Chicago Bears last year, right? So if Vrabel does have that success, because the likelihood is higher because of the experience, and Ben Johnson is still learning and figuring things out, then that could even be more magnified by the fact that it looks like on paper the Bears have done more to impact their roster in terms of winning. That's another stick to throw on the fire, man, in that conversation. So will it happen? Probably, yes. Will people
it's gonna. Yeah, it's gonna.
The thing that the scenario you didn't pitch that I will pitch, because I'll say this, man. Vrabel was the guy that I wanted. Vrabel was the guy that you wanted in that conversation because of his experience, because the fact that this Bears culture needed to be changed so badly, so much, and it needed to happen quickly. And I thought Vrabel, just given that experience and the type of guy that he is, he was better suited for that job than a rookie head coach. It wasn't a knock against Ben Johnson, any rookie head coach. I just thought it was.
Yeah, we publicly liked both choices.
It can be an insurmountable task for a rookie head coach because you're throwing extra stuff on there besides just managing the football games. You're managing the culture. You're managing the discipline, and those things are tougher to pick up on. And you got to figure out how you lead. Vrabel already knows that. That's why I was higher on Vrabel. So I'll say this too: a lot of people that were pushing for Ben Johnson, if Ben Johnson doesn't get the results right away, those same people that were pushing for Ben Johnson are going to say, I knew we should have hired Vrabel.
Of course.
If Vrabel's having success and Ben Johnson is having a tougher time getting it going, that conversation will start happening too. And you'll start hearing a lot of fans do that about face about, oh no, it was Vrabel the whole time. And I knew it. And I'll say this too, that all that speculation, all that conversation will be short-sighted and premature. When you hired Ben Johnson,
impulsive. I thought the same thing. There will be some impulsive reaction.
I even though I wanted Vrabel over Johnson, in a small amount, it wasn't like it was a huge difference. And I'm very impressed with what Ben Johnson has done so far. I hope it seems like I was wrong in terms of how long it would take him to get a grasp on being that disciplinarian and that leader of men and that culture changer, because it seems like he's establishing that quick. But like, I'm blanking on where I was going with that.
Well, you said there's another scenario I didn't pitch, and I think you were going to say the Bears start with success automatically.
Well, no, I pitched that scenario where people turn around and they say Vrabel was my guy the whole time. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, when you hired Ben Johnson, you knew you were taking on a longer process. I think you got a rookie head coach that you need to let develop. So my point, I guess, was that it would be short-sighted. It would be premature to have that conversation and to have those thoughts between Vrabel and Johnson, because I think Vrabel is in a completely different position than Johnson in terms of that experience and how that's going to help him starting off in a new place, man.
Well, and I also wanted to point this out because I do believe, guys, this is going to be a conversation that's had throughout the course of the season, and not just on the Chicago side. I mean, imagine if Ben Johnson comes out and Caleb's firing on all cylinders, and Drake May takes a step back. Every Patriots fan's going to say we should have waited for Ben Johnson. We should have interviewed Ben Johnson while he was still coaching the Lions in the playoffs. But it's just the divisions, especially, Dustin, is where I want to tell people to pump the brakes on this comparison that's going to be made. And guys, if you're out there in the chat, tell us whether or not you agree. This conversation is going to be had all season long. But imagine how fans will feel if Drake May isn't really doing what you want him to do. They're going to think we should have hired Ben Johnson, or we should have at least waited to do that interview. Because listen,
that conversation can work both ways for sure.
Outside of alignment, and God, before they fired Bill Belichick, I mean, is there a franchise that's better known for alignment than the New England Patriots have been in the last couple of decades, Dustin? But outside of that, we knew Ben Johnson's the biggest selling point for Ben Johnson, I think, was a quarterback, to have a franchise quarterback or and a guy who looks like he might be the future franchise quarterback. And New England presented that as well. I mean, Drake May was a high draft pick, picked right behind Caleb Williams. He's a guy who played.
And they brought in Josh McDaniels to work with him. I mean, and Josh McDaniels has that experience too. I mean, it's more experience in certain ways. The Bears added a lot of experience around Ben Johnson too. And when you have that conversation, I think that's the other part that you got to have. And just real quick, let's throw this out here, because John S. says they were never getting Vrabel. No reason to make this comp. I was a Vrabel guy, but he was never coming here. He's happy we got Ben. And I just never understood that conversation. If he was never coming here, it was because there wasn't really genuine interest from the Bears or genuine interest from him or both. So, I mean, Vrabel to the Patriots made a lot of sense because of his past history with the Patriots. So I guess that's kind of why people say that. But if I was the Chicago Bears, I would have pushed hard to get him in, to have him interviewed before he ended up in New England. I said that at the time. But they didn't. So maybe John S. is right here.
And they did have a phone interview, Mike Vrabel and Ryan Poles. And I speculated that Mike Vrabel, the phone call was just Mike Vrabel telling Ryan Poles, this is the job I want. If it's offered to me, this New England job, this is the job that I want. And I thought that Mike Vrabel should have been made the coach of the Patriots when they selected Gerard Mayo. That was weird to me, man.
That seemed too obvious.
There was some agreement that Gerard Mayo was going to be given the coaching job, which is ridiculous, man. But they made the same mistake as the Bears. They hired a coach that didn't pan out. Now they got their quarterback 1 year behind where he should be in his development. But they made the right coaching hire on Mike Vrabel. There's no doubt about that.
So the point I was going to make before I went to the John S. comment was you didn't know who these guys were going to hire as their coaching staff. And I'll say this straight up. I don't really know all the guys that Vrabel has hired to surround himself.
Thomas Brown.
I know who the Bears have. I know who Ben Johnson went and got. And after that was coaching staff hires, once that whole staff was filled out, I don't think it's really even a question that the Bears made the right choice here, man. when you see, I mean, I would much rather have Ben Johnson as my de facto offensive coordinator and head coach, and then the young gun coming up, hopefully learning from Ben Johnson and all the Dennis Allen and all the experience on the lines with Rocher and Johnson. It just Al Harris, Antoine Randall L, like the coaching staff, Eric Bieniemy. These are guys that I don't think the Patriots coaching staff are anywhere near as good as. I don't, so I mean, like, once you see that whole picture come into place, I think the Bears clearly made the right choice here with Ben Johnson over Mike Vrabel, and I'm happy to say I was wrong in wanting Vrabel in regards to that, because I'm not as big of a fan as what Vrabel has put together of what I know of versus, obviously I'm much more familiar with what the Bears have done here in Chicago, and I'm very confident in the staff that
Well,
he's
I agree.
surrounded himself with.
The staff top to bottom is better in Chicago. I do think this though, in the division that
Yeah.
he's in, Mike Vrabel will probably have some success this year in New England. I believe
I,
that.
as I said, I think it's highly likely that he starts off quicker with more instant impact success than Ben Johnson. I don't think that that's a reason to say that the Bears made the wrong choice and not entertaining the Vrabel thing more seriously. Because if you
No,
identify
and
Ben Johnson as your guy, you had to understand this is a rookie head coach, and he's gonna need some time to figure this out, and that's a big part of why they've hired this ridiculous coaching staff. Yeah, DJ, Eric Bieniemy you saw how many coaches I named before I got to Eric Bieniemy. Like, Eric Bieniemy is not an afterthought on this coaching staff. He's our fucking running backs coach. Correct, DJ Prophet. Well said.
yeah, and I think he'll find his way back into a head coaching interview at some juncture of his career. I really do.
I
Just
don't.
I don't
I
think
don't.
I
I don't
don't
think
see. I
so.
don't think the verdict's out on that. I thought that's why he went to UCLA. I thought it was a good decision for him. And running an offense entirely. And then yeah, he kind of chose again, man. This is another because DJ Prophet says, for fuck's sake, that's wild. And he's, I mean, you couldn't be more right. This guy basically took a demotion because he believes in what Ben Johnson's doing. He was running an offense at UCLA. He's now the running back coordinator, running game coordinator, running backs coach for the Chicago Bears. And so he did make his way back in the NFL, but it's clear that he believes in what Ben Johnson's doing. I think all these coaches
So
do. And
let's talk about.
I did want to say this, Dustin. I do know, guys, that this conversation is going to come up. If especially if Ben Johnson has a slow start, there's going to be fans throwing it out there. You're going to see the record comps. You're going to see the memes and all this stuff, guys. So I wanted to really have this conversation to say, pump the brakes. If Ben Johnson comes out and falls short this season, guys, it doesn't mean they made the wrong hire at head coach. And I agree, John, that I don't know that Vrabel was ever an option to begin with. I think he wanted that New England job.
Let's dig into this conversation a little more, because I got the coaching staff here, and what I kind of thought about the hires as I heard about them from Vrabel, and I didn't remember all the names, but we're talking about a lot of guys that are retreads across the NFL. A lot of guys like Josh
Which doesn't
McDaniels.
surprise me. That's the way
It's just there. I don't see the imagination here. It looks like a bunch of his friends, basically, that he brought along with him, which these coaches do. But Josh McDaniels, the offensive coordinator, Todd Downing, I believe, is the defensive coordinator. No, offensive line coach. Sorry, Ben McAdoo. Ben McAdoo is on their staff. Doug Maroney is the defensive coordinator, isn't he? Nope, offensive line coach Doug Maroney. All right, who's their defensive coordinator? Ben McAdoo, senior offensive assistant under Gerard Mayo. Guys, who's the defensive coordinator for the fucking New England Patriots? So we got Doug Maroney, Josh McDaniels, Todd Downing, Ashton Grant joins New England as quarterbacks coach.
Terrell Williams is the defensive coordinator.
There he is right there, Terrell Williams, senior defensive assistant. Okay, very good. I mean, I don't know. Nothing really jumps off the page here. You got
what is Thomas Brown? Passing game coordinator? What the hell is he? What is Thomas Brown?
Let's see here. Passing game coordinator, Thomas Brown. Yeah.
Makes
so I mean,
sense.
like, you're looking at a staff that I don't think is really anywhere near as good as what Ben Johnson has, and that once you see the talent that he attracted in terms of the coaching staff, like you said, the people that wanted to be a part of this, you start to really think like the Bears certainly made the right choice. If it even was a choice between Vrabel and Ben Johnson, they made the right one, because the people that he brought in here, I am much happier with that than that New England coaching staff. I just
in regards to Thomas Brown, just because we know a little more about him than anyone else on that staff, this guy was going from a struggling Bryce Young to a struggling Caleb Williams now he's going to. I don't know if I want
Drake
this guy
May was
anywhere.
not really
I
struggling,
don't.
so
I don't know if I want this guy anywhere near a young quarterback, man. He
you know,
hasn't
it's
really
funny
shown
because
that.
when we think back to our conversations about Thomas Brown, when we were trying to be
I was excited about it.
as Cliff Victoria says right here, glass half full, like trying to paint the picture of how he could impact Caleb Williams in a positive way. And maybe this could be him grabbing the reins of this job and nailing it down. And it just didn't work out that way. And Thomas Brown was put in a terrible spot. He wasn't ready for it. I have no ill will towards him. I hope he does well. And I think Drake May is a solid young quarterback to work with in the NFL. So hopefully that works out for Thomas Brown. But it's just funny to think back to what we were trying to convince ourselves Thomas Brown could or would be when he got this, rushed promotion and what it ended up turning into. The guy couldn't get an offensive coordinator job in the NFL.
I'm going to say this, guys. I would not question anything Mike Vrabel does. The guys that he hired might be his friends, but he hired them for good reason. Mike Vrabel knows what he's looking for in his coaches, the same as he does his players, the same as he does his culture. Mike Vrabel was a very good coach in on that Tennessee Titans team. I thought they overachieved every single season he was there. I didn't think there was much on that roster. He took them to a playoffs. I mean, Ryan Tannehill was the best quarterback he ever coached over there. Mike Vrabel is going to do the right thing for Drake May and
Yeah,
for that
I think
New
they
England
made a
team.
good hire. I think
Yeah.
the Patriots made a good hire. I would have been happy if it was the Bears hire. But as DJ says here, Ben Johnson didn't bring a bunch of his friends. These were guys that respected what he's capable of and wanted to be a part of this and came and joined. Whereas it seems like Vrabel hired a bunch of people that he knew, and again,
Yeah,
most
but like
coaches
that
do
was what
that.
the point I was making though is there's more to it than that. Mike Vrabel knows what he's doing in hiring his coaches. It's gonna work out for the Patriots. I believe that, man. And especially like I said, you got the Bills. Aside from that, that division is pretty weak. The Jets, the Dolphins. I think the Patriots are going to finish second place in that division behind the Buffalo Bills. Not in a playoff seed or anything like that. He will get improvement out of that team and their roster overall.
I want to finish out that comment from DJ Prophet because he
What's
says
up, Dante?
Ben brought in people to challenge him, and I love it. Yes,
And
I 100.
mentor.
Yeah, to help him do the job, to think about the stuff that you don't think about as a first-time head coach, to really have their eyes on those things. Ben has insulated himself from failure with this coaching staff as much as you possibly can, in my mind. I think that was 100% his thought process. What are the things that blindside a first-time head coach, and who can I hire to help me avoid that? And these guys that challenge him, DJ, those are the guys that are going to do it. They're going to constantly not just be yes men. They're going to challenge him to be better, and it's the results hopefully are good for the Chicago Bears overall.
Well, they have a great mix, Dustin. They've got young, they've got old, they've got inexperienced, they've got all the experience in the world. They've got disciplinarians and they've got player coaches. The guys will be your buddies. You know what I mean? He's brought just about, you've got the Eric Bieniemy side of things, the guys yelling at you, cursing at you during practice. Then you've got the Al Harris side, who I think he tries to get more on a player's level, considering he was a previous player and a pretty damn good one. I know Bieniemy was, but not really. Let's be honest. But I think
Urlacher.
this is just a quality mix of all the things that a team needs in regards to leadership, man.
And we said it when this coaching staff was finally filled out. Like, it shows how smart Ben Johnson is because he knows how smart he isn't. That's how you can tell how smart someone is. If you know what your weaknesses are and you can swallow your pride and say, I need these guys to help me, fill in the gaps where my weaknesses are, then you are a smart person. And Ben Johnson did that 100% with this staff, which is, again, why I come back to I feel like the Bears made the right choice here. If it even was a choice, if they didn't even have a shot at Vrabel, so be it. But the comparisons will be there, Brandon. I do agree with you there because they were the two best candidates out there, and the Bears, from a Bears fan's perspective, should have had their pick of the litter in that regard compared to
And
the
from
other
a
teams
Bears
that were
fan's
on the market
perspective,
for a coach.
I mean, it seemed pretty apparent to me, Dustin, hopefully you as well, and I think everybody in the chat, guys, these were their two options. These were the two guys that Ryan Poles had kind of publicized early in this coaching hunt. These were the two guys he had the bullseye on the most. I think Mike McCarthy was a close third. I think if both Ben Johnson and Mike Vrabel had taken other jobs, that probably would have been the Bears' next head coach. But these are no doubt the two candidates they wanted the most.
I mean, Pete Carroll was the guy that made sense to me too for what the Bears needed, and I think he's going to do exactly what I thought he could do in Chicago and in Las Vegas. I mean, those guys just kind of have step into a building and they change things around pretty quickly. Yeah, I thought that's what Vrabel would do. But you know what? It looks like Ben Johnson's fucking doing that. Ben Johnson has done that since he stepped into Halas Hall, and I love what I'm seeing from Ben Johnson. V Dog says Brian Urlacher made an extremely great point. Yes, there'll be skepticism around the hire, but this is just who we needed because we can always build great defenses. I don't know if it's just like fait accompli that you're going to have a great defense in Chicago. I think you need a pass rush and you need a really good.
Well, I think the defensive coordinator hire was just as
coordinator makes a
important.
big difference.
Yeah.
I don't think you just take for granted that you're going to have good defenses and you need to impact the offense. I think the biggest benefactor of it is Caleb Williams in terms of when you hire an offensive coach, a coach that calls the plays, you're not worried about losing that guy once your quarterback starts having success and your offenses are good because that is the head coach. He stays. The offensive coordinator for these guys, these defensive coaches, they end up leaving. I think that plays a bigger role in it, V-Dog, than just assuming you're going to have a great defense, so we got to fix the offense. I think you want to fix the offense and you want to have it consistent. Peyton Manning made that point as well. When you play with the same offensive coordinator year to year to year in the same system, not having to learn a new language, it's a lot easier to build and sustain success. Whereas if you're constantly changing out offensive coordinators because they're getting hired and going somewhere else, or they're getting fired because you weren't doing your job, now you are consistently learning something new and your growth is stunted year to year. That's a huge deal with this Ben Johnson hire.
Real quick, Dante says Declan Doyle works for cheap. Listen, I want to say this about Declan.
What's up, Dante?
Declan Doyle, by all measures, by everybody who knows him, everybody who's worked around him, is this young protege type coach. The same guy that Ben Johnson was, that Kyle Shanahan was. There's a lot to be said about Declan Doyle. And listen, if he thinks, hey, I can go coach for Ben Johnson, I could be the OC on this team doing the dirty work, I can spend my nights till midnight watching tape and all that, good for him. I mean, if the guy knows that he's going to go through the ringer to get where he needs to go and work under one of the best play callers in the NFL, he's a very intelligent person. My only question regarding Declan Doyle and John Morton, the guy that the Lions hired as their offense coordinator, why did Sean Payton let these guys walk as opposed to being his offensive coordinator over there in Denver, man? I mean, it doesn't make much sense, man. But
well, I mean, he had some familiarity with them, I believe, and from Miami.
He's been this is his protege. Declan Doyle is a guy that Sean Payton's brought around, man. He's brought him wherever he goes. He's taken him with him.
Oh no, I thought you were talking about Dan Campbell and his hire of Morton.
Yeah. Well, yeah, Morton I was including him in the conversation on why Sean Payton. These guys took lateral promotions, basically. I mean, Declan Doyle took a promotion going to the offensive coordinator, but he still won't call plays. But John Morton basically just went to Detroit to be the play caller.
Well, because you're not the play caller under Sean Payton. Yeah. Sean Payton is the play caller. So it's not a lateral move for him. He's still moving upwards because he will now get the credit for the play calling. And if you're following behind, or the credit for the failures, yes, well, you'll get one or the other, but these guys got to want that, whether it's failure or success. And DJ89, he was on the bare minimum. I didn't catch it. That's my brother. What up, Nick? How you doing?
You did that. I went back and watched that show, and I was like, how did he not fucking know?
Bro, I get into these things. I didn't even hear what you said just now. Like it happens. I'm trying to read the chat. I'm trying to stay focused on what you're talking about and what I'm trying to talk about, where we're moving this conversation. Thanks for being here. Yes, we did have this conversation at like 1 a.m, sitting on my couch when you were down here visiting, brother. So yeah.
What's going on, Nick?
But yeah, that is the most crucial part of that Ben Johnson hire is that there is no turnover at that offensive coordinator spot, and Caleb is not learning a new language with a new offensive coordinator because he had success or failure. Hopefully, there's consistency and stability here that will help Caleb Williams grow the proper way. So I'm excited
as well, and the two will grow together because they're this is new heights.
To tie that back into this conversation, that growing does take some time. So if like Vrabel comes out with a little more success than Ben Johnson to start, that is not a reason to lose faith or panic. That should be expected. Yes, exactly, Brandon. So like the time to grow is important here, and the time for these guys to learn each other and figure each other out. That is important, and we got to let this process happen as Chicago Bears fans. This is just the start of it, and hopefully it bears some really nice fruit. But we don't know, and we got to go through the process.
Yeah, that is the point here. I think the Bears are trying to. I mean, the league is going one way and one way only, right? I mean,
you got to score points.
Built heavy on offense, even good defenses nowadays. I mean, remember what a good defense was 20 years ago. They allowed 12 points a game. A good defense today allows 20 points a game. You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
it's about having that offense that can put points on the board. And the Bears have never really had this approach, never tried this approach. And I think it's worth doing considering this is the
Well,
way
they
things are
tried it with
going.
Matt Nagy not too long ago. I
I
mean,
know, Dante. I know you weren't throwing shade on him. We none of us know anything about Declan Doyle, and who knows, man? Maybe he sucks. I'm sure
I
Ben
think
Johnson will find that out
I
quickly.
look at that offensive coordinator position on this team as a glorified title. To be honest, I don't
Well, you
know.
would like to think at some juncture Ben feels comfortable enough and trust this guy to give him play calling, man. I would like to see that at
You
some
would
point.
like to see that evolution in Ben Johnson as a coach, as a guy
Yeah,
who delegates the responsibilities and builds people up, and then can just focus on
right.
management of the
That was
roster
our
and the
thing
game.
last year,
Yes,
Dustin. This is
100.
different, but last year we harped
Because Ben Johnson's in his
time and
first
time
year.
again
Yes.
about how Matt Eberflus just couldn't be a head coach to begin with. But then when he took on the play calling, it was even worse and more apparent,
Well,
man.
I mean, if we're talking about Declan Doyle, let's just talk about the fact that this guy worked under Sean Payton for years, has that philosophy, that offensive philosophy, which has shown success in the NFL, right? And now he's coming with Ben Johnson, who's got multiple years of good offensive philosophy that shows success in the NFL. And now he's going to learn under him. And when you put those two things together, and if he actually is what people think he is, what can that turn into in a year or two? What
And
can
there's
this
and
guy
there's
become?
and there's a lot of people who have good things to say about Declan Doyle, man. I mean, a lot
Apparently,
of
he's a very hard worker, very, very highly regarded in NFL circles. He's just young. He's looking for an opportunity. And if you take what Ben Johnson can give him, along with what Sean Payton has already given him, that what kind of hybrid, crazy offense are we talking about here in a couple of years when Declan Doyle, if he gets his shot, what could he turn into? You never know. So I guess we'll see.
Yeah, it was a conversation I wanted to have, man. Like I said, I think the comparisons will come out and they'll start pretty
What up,
early, I'm
Phil?
sure. I mean, I would imagine, I'll bet you anything if the Patriots win their first game and the Bears lose theirs, you're already going to see it, man. I can almost guarantee it. I've learned this fan base well. I know how they work. And like Dustin said, anybody who's willing to do that after a couple of weeks in the season, you're acting on impulse and you're letting your emotions get the best of you because things aren't going the way that you'd hoped.
Dante says Antoine Randall L title is assistant head coach. I mean, yeah, it is. And Antoine Randall L is another guy I love on this coaching staff that if he continues to grow with Ben Johnson, could find himself in head coaching conversations. He's a
Well,
couple years
definitely
away
an
from that.
offensive coordinator. Yeah,
He's a
without
couple
a
years
doubt.
away from that still. So, but like, yeah, the offensive coordinator would potentially be the next step. But some guys do surpass that if their leadership abilities kind of outshine their play calling abilities. I mean that can happen. But again, it's more to the point that
He's the
Antoine,
assistant head coach on this football team.
yeah, that's what he's saying. That's what Dante's saying, and it's just it's that is confidence inspiring to me because I loved what Antoine Randall L did with those receivers in Detroit last year. I loved it. And Al Harris was an assistant head coach on the Cowboys. And I love what he did with those DBs in Dallas. I wanted him to
Yeah.
be the defensive coordinator here a
Look at the
couple of years
results.
ago.
Look at the results these two have gotten, man. I mean, we've said
Yeah.
it. We've talked about it a lot on this show, and I'm sure you guys are aware of it. But the Detroit wide receiver core blossomed under Antoine Randall L. And these two coaches were turning third, fourth round picks into Pro Bowl players, man. And that's I have no doubt what they'll do here in Chicago as well.
DJ talking to the chat, I believe that not sure why y'all trying to discredit Declan. And to me, I said it's a glory. I think anybody who's let me clarify, DJ, it's not a shot against Declan. I think anybody who's the offensive coordinator under Ben Johnson, that is, you are that position only in title because you are not actually calling the plays. He will help install and he will learn from him, and he could then get to the point where Ben Johnson feels comfortable, as Brandon said, handing off the reins of that to him, and then lets him show out and turn into the guy that he could turn into. And as I said, you combine that Sean Payton experience with this Ben Johnson experience and put them together, you could have a monster in terms of play calling in the NFL if Declan Doyle is who people think he is. I don't know what he is because I haven't really seen it, man.
And there's
Tight
a
ends coach
plethora
for
of
a team that had no tight ends. That's what he was.
these guys: Sean Payton,
Okay, Dante.
Kyle Shanahan, Andy Reid, Kevin O'Connell. I mean, guys, there's a handful of these coaches where if you're the offensive coordinator, you're doing a lot less work than you would anywhere else. Now, a good point to be made is look at the guys who were quarterbacks coaches for these head coaches like Kevin O'Connell, Mike Shanahan, like Brian Greasy and Josh McCown. These guys were looked at as potential offensive coordinators, being quarterback coaches underneath these head coaches, because these guys run the show, man. And you learn. The hope is that you're learning when you're
Yeah.
coaching under a guy like Kevin O'Connell and Kyle Shanahan.
And you have a lot of responsibility as a quarterback's coach in the NFL. And you have a lot of responsibility as an offensive coordinator in the NFL, even if you're not calling the plays. I mean, all the stuff that Ben Johnson ain't got time to do, that's what Declan Doyle's going to be doing.
Yeah, he's
cutting
going to
his
be working
teeth.
his ass off. Yeah.
Yeah, no doubt. And he's going to earn it if he gets it. So I'm excited to see what happens with Declan Doyle. I think that's just another great move on these coaching staff hires, because it's low risk, high reward. What you can get out of it on the high end is much more appetizing than what's the worst case scenario. Ben Johnson's still calling your plays, and you hire another guy to install the offense. If this guy doesn't work out like that, it's not really that big of a risk. It's a huge benefit if it works out.
All right, Dustin, I did want to talk a little bit, guys. There was a few more ESPN.
Hold on, Brando. Hold on. Sorry, 1 sec. Phil asked this question. He's asked it a couple times in the last week. He really wants a defensive end. I know you're not happy with the pass rush here in Chicago, so he's just asking if we see any chance that the Bears, that Poles and the Bears sign a free agent defensive end this week. I don't know about this week, but I think there's a chance they sign one. Brandon, what do you think?
Well, I've said this before, guys. I'll say it again. Brad Biggs reported that Dennis Allen stated, "I need to know what I don't have if I'm going to make an addition to this defensive line." He wants to know that the guys who are on the roster aren't enough. And that's the way he spun it too. It wasn't, I know, are these guys good enough? He was really voicing, are they not? So Austin Booker there was a lot of emphasis there. He wants to see what he's got in Austin Booker, a very young player that only played 300 something snaps last season. I don't see an addition being made until towards the end of preseason, guys, if it's going to happen. They're going to take a very close look at what they've got.
Yeah.
There's
They
no
want to
doubt
see
about it.
they want to see these guys. As I mentioned on the bare minimum, man, we kind of tend to forget that the Bears just went in free agency and spent big money on a defensive end and Dial, and we got to see what this guy does. And I don't know how much you're going to see in preseason of him, but I think if they make a move, it's more of a depth move. I don't know if Zadarius Smith makes sense for the Bears, and I don't know if the Bears make sense for Zadarius Smith. Zadarius Smith wants to be on a contender, a team that he knows I'm going to be a guy that's competing for a Super Bowl on this team, and I'm helping that team do it. And I don't know if the Bears are looked at as that right now. So I don't know if it makes sense for either party for a Zadarius Smith signing. Would I like to see it? Fuck yeah. I mean, in terms of adding talent to this pass rush, I would 100% love to see that. But I would also like to see what you just said, Brandon. I'd like to see what Austin Booker does this preseason. I'd like to see what Dio does this preseason. I want to see if Dominique Robinson makes this roster. If Dominique Robinson doesn't make this roster, then there's really something to talk about. I don't see a signing happening this week. I really don't.
Yeah, and I'm a little flabbergasted by this whole spending this offseason and moving Hardy to linebacker.
Hardy is a defensive end, man.
That confuses me, man. He's got
Brandon,
no business playing that position.
He's not going to play linebacker. He's a defensive end.
Well, it makes what it really begs the question, Dustin, is will he make the team? That's where
I think Hardy makes the roster over Dominique Robinson because
for sure.
Because of his special team snaps, because of his ability on special teams. Like he performed well on special teams last year, and that makes more of an impact to me. So I think Hardy makes this roster over a Dominique Robinson at the defensive end spot. Hardy is not a linebacker. I mean, he's an undersized defensive end for this defense for sure. But I mean, sometimes you got to kind of work with what you got. I love the motor on Hardy. I love the fight in Hardy. So I would love to see him get another shot with the Bears this season, to be honest. V-Dog says, hey, Dustin, love the no BS attitude. Remember there was all the critiques about DJ Moore's body language last year? He said day one, Ben told him to fix his fucking face. Love this hiring season ain't start yet. Yeah, no, like Ben Johnson do not play around. If he gives you a look, it's like when dad looks at you in the backseat of the car. When he gives you a look, it's like when dad looks at you in the backseat of the car. It's like, all right, I gotta fix this shit right now. Like he can do that shit with a look. Ben Johnson has shown me without a doubt that he ain't playing no games. He's going to have this team competing. He's going to have this team disciplined, and he ain't accepting that bullshit. You are 100%.
Do not make me pull this offense over.
Exactly. Ben Johnson can say that with a look. That's what he has shown so far for sure.
Yeah, he's got that psychopathic smile, man. I mean,
yeah, that scares me a little bit.
Yeah. Guys, there was some ESPN reports earlier today. I do want to touch on those a little bit. The four-letter network actually showed a little bit of respect for the Chicago Bears today, man. That's not very common, but they did rank all 32 NFL rosters. Guys, this is not based on strength of schedule. This is not based on really any like your division that you're in. This is based on your roster on paper alone. They ranked the Bears 15th, which when me and Dustin did our power rankings a couple weeks ago on the bare minimum is exactly
That's
where
where the
we
Bears
ranked
fell.
the
Yeah.
Bears roster. And we did that power ranking based on rosters. Remember that, Dustin? We wanted
Mhm.
to exclude strength
Yeah.
of schedule.
And we did it off the cuff. We didn't plan ahead on it. We just discussed it and kind of went through it, and that's where the Bears ended up falling, was 15th. And in that the Bears ended up making the playoffs too. They were the seventh best team in the NFC on that list as well. This list was a little different, I believe, in that regard. I don't
Yeah, it
think the Bears
was.
were in the
They were
playoffs.
pushed out. Yeah, no,
Yeah,
they were pushed
they
out.
were eight or ninth best team in the NFC, I believe, on that list. But I mean, middle of the pack makes sense for this Bears roster right now. I don't think it's, like you said, it's given a little credit. It's not, knocking them too hard, but it's also like, hey, you just won 5 games last year and time to earn it. So like if you want to be in the top 10 of one of those rankings, you probably shouldn't be a team that's coming off a 5-win season.
Something, guys, that I thought was worth noting, though. And each team listed, they gave you the best unit on the football team. The Bears' offensive line was listed as the best unit on this football team. And the writer even said, I suppose I could throw out DBs, wide receivers, or tight ends too. I mean, you make it sound like the Bears have a lot of strengths. Their wide receiver group is very young, but they have a lot of potential. The tight
People ain't
ends,
seeing what Rome is going to do yet, man. This
the
receiving
tight
group
ends,
is going to be a lot better than people realize. Luther Burden and
if
Rome.
Colston Loveland is that man, you've got two quality tight ends on your football team that serve very
Mhm.
different roles, two roles that are both good to have on your football team. And then the DBs, guys, goes without question, one of the best units in football. They've made every top 10 list that me and Dustin have seen over the course of the offseason.
This offensive line is the most improved unit in football, period, Brandon. The
Yeah, I
Bears
thought that
offensive
Bleacher
line,
Report article was great, by the way.
yeah.
Yeah.
The Bears offensive line is the most improved unit in football, and there are national reporters saying that because the Bears did make really big, strong moves to impact the interior of this offensive line. And you still got Darnell Wright, who's coming up, and they drafted a potential starting left tackle, and they have competition there too. So like this offensive line compared to what it was, it's not recognizable. It's a completely different unit. So it being a strength, considering that Joe Thuney might be the best player on your team this year, that makes total sense to me. Now you remember who the weakest unit was. Their biggest weakness was running backs. That's what ESPN listed,
Which
and
is probably true.
it's true. It's that or pass rush, right? Edge rusher or the running back room. But like they made the point that this is more of a this more happens because this Bears roster is so good. That's the point he made. Like this is kind of nitpicking is basically what the guy who wrote the article was saying, because DeAndre Swift is a pretty serviceable running back in the NFL. And he's got high usage and he's a good player. So I mean, like that was the point that was made too. Like this might be their weakest unit, but that's not really saying it's weak. It's saying it's the weakest one to pick from of all the units on this team.
Got a couple of questions here I want to touch on real quick, Dustin. Ron
This
says,
one
"Do you
here,
think you spelled Tyreek, Ron, as if you're talking about? Are you talking about Tyreek Stevenson? Because that's the
I'm
Tyreek
not.
Hill spelling.
I think he's talking about Tyreek Hill. That's what I interpreted that as. I would imagine Ron knows what he's spelling there. So I mean, do I think
There's no
Tyreek?
doubt in my mind at some juncture Tyreek Hill will ask to be traded, but no, I don't think he will be.
I think it ends up happening because he's in that part of a receiver's career where that happens, where the team's just like, all right, you're not worth the headache in terms of
I
your
could see
skill.
Tyreek Hill for the rest of his career just being bounced around because nobody wants to deal with him. The guy's kind of a pain in the ass, man. And then
Yes, DJ,
Bears fans,
that's true.
Bears
DJ
fans
says
are like,
real quick, DJ, just on the running back thing, O line makes the running backs better. The improved offensive line will impact the yards
substantially.
per carry of these running backs, including Roshan Johnson, if he's getting that opportunity, or if it's Kyle Miller.
Substantially
Yes,
profit.
one
Well said.
very good point. Yeah.
Phil, familiarity is the answer to this question. I think that's about it. I don't think there's much more
Chark played
to
for the
this.
Lions with Ben Johnson. Yeah, I mean, but right now the Bears have 6 guys receiver wise that can make their roster as it is. Like
And
if
you
you're talking
know
about
Duvernay will have to be listed as a wide receiver on this roster.
yeah, exactly, and they'll have to keep him as a receiver, and they need this guy. This guy changes their entire return game. This is a huge signing and the
Yeah,
most
he's
overlooked
not
one of the
going.
offseason. Yeah, no. So Miles Boykin, I think he's a cut, and then I don't know about putting another receiver in there. Like, does DJ Chark become the sixth receiver on this team? Like, I don't know if you want to carry six with the other spots. You gotta fill with the 53-man roster across the board, man. I might
Yeah,
go
because
five. I might go five receivers if I'm the Bears. I might
yeah,
not
I
go
think,
six.
and this is just speculation, guys. There's no merit to this. I think the Bears are going to. I don't know about defensive end, Phil. I think the Bears are going to sign a linebacker before the season starts. Might probably won't be a big splash signing. It's just going to be somebody who's played some years in the NFL, has some veteran savvy to him. But I do think the Bears know that they're a little thin at that position. I'm not even talking about production. They're one injury away from being a disaster in that linebacking unit, man.
Yeah,
I
he was talking about Tyreek Stevenson. Ron
Okay.
was.
No, I don't think he'll be
No,
traded.
no.
I think Al Harris is a big fan of Tyree Stevenson.
Yeah, and I think he's gonna have play his ass off this season, guys.
Yeah, they're about to Phil.
Tyreek
They're about
Stevenson
to
will change some minds this year.
Phil. Something I think has been understated and overlooked. Dennis Allen loves to play press man. He plays it over half the
Which
time.
will benefit Tyreek
Tyreek
Stevenson.
Stevenson, in my mind, from the
Yes.
minute he was drafted, would be one of the best players in the league.
He's a
Playing
man-to-man corner.
man coverage, press man coverage. This guy's really physical. He's aggressive at the line. He doesn't want you to get into your routes. He sticks to you like glue. I think this is exactly what Tyreek Stevenson needs to make the strides that he's capable of making. And Al Harris put him in a summer program where he can work on his attitude a little bit too. So I think this is going to be a big year for Tyreek Stevenson. If I had to guess, man.
Tyreek is going to ball this year, and this system benefits him probably more than any other defensive player that was already on this.
Yeah, I'll go as far as say I think Tyreek Stevenson could make the biggest stride on that defensive unit for sure.
Dante says Chark played for Ben. He did him a solid by bringing him in, basically suggesting he's not going to be signing him, but just trying to get some exposure,
attention, yeah,
to the gentleman.
Attention, and that works, man. If they, because listen, I think the Chargers just signed Naheem Hines, the running back that's kind of vanished off the face of the earth, man. So these guys, once they start getting visits from teams, they do get some attention on them, man. And I'm sure Shark will visit a few other teams after he leaves Chicago.
V-Dog says Tyler Scott is gone. Don't see him making the roster. Ron says Tyler can't catch. I don't agree with that. Tyler Scott, I think, will make this roster for one more year. That's what I think.
See why.
But we'll see. I think that he brings a dimension to this offense that, I mean, Burden can, but nobody else really can. I think you want burners like that.
Do you propose then that if Tyler Scott remains on if he remains on this football team, you think he's going to be on the field?
Well, I mean, he's going to be depth for receiver, but I mean, like, would you rather have him or Miles Boykin?
I would throw Tyler Scott on the practice squad. I don't think I'd have him on my active roster. The guy spent a career as a healthy scratch, man. There's problems with Tyler Scott we're not aware of.
I'm not writing Tyler Scott off yet. I'll just say that, and I think Tyler Scott, if he shows out in this training camp and preseason, he'll earn a roster spot because Poles does not. Let me make this point. Poles does not like cutting bait on these middle round picks. He's stubborn about those things, and I think Tyler Scott will be a beneficiary of that as well.
I would love, as training camp kicks off here, guys, tomorrow, I would love to hear, well, not for the veteran players, but I would love to hear Randall Ellis say something about Tyler Scott, because he hasn't. Not a word about the potential there, about how he likes something he does specifically, about how he hasn't really been given a chance. I mean, nothing. Our wide receivers coach has said, and they have done a lot of a lot of talking about the guys who were previously on this roster before the staff was hired, man. The Bears coaching staff really wants to see what's here. Been the guys who haven't been developed well. The Bears want to crack at that.
Who do you think takes his spot as the fifth receiver on this roster, Brandon?
I think we already named all five. If Zacchaeus, Duvernay, Burden, Adunze, more.
Okay, so then if you're carrying a sixth, it's Tyler Scott. Yeah, Duvernay is a guy you got to keep. Zacchaeus is a guy that's not going nowhere. Yeah, I mean the math is tough for Tyler Scott for sure. Say that.
I think Zacchaeus is going to play some football on this team. Man.
I don't think he's just going to
be an injury guy. I think
he's going to be. he's going to be on the field until Luther Burden supplants him. That's
Yeah.
basically what's going to happen,
Which
right?
will
Like,
probably be pretty quick.
Maybe quickly, but I think the Bears coaching staff might feel more comfortable with the guy who's been there and who's also a veteran and played in this league. So
Yeah,
like,
I don't blame him for that.
no, yeah, Burden hasn't been there yet. Really, he hasn't really been putting in the work because he's been injured. So like, once that injury gets better and Burden starts showing out, Zacchaeus is gone. But I think you start out with Zacchaeus as your slot receiver to start the season. Poles' resume might take a hit with some of the potential cuts. Yeah, it's looking like it. Pickens is going to be gone. Tyler Scott might be gone. Practice squad, maybe, Brandon, as you said. I don't want to give up on Tyler Scott yet. Like that's hard. I love this kid in college, but it's just hard for me to see like a guy who had that talent in college and then it just completely disappears in the NFL. You feel like you didn't get enough out of him, and he's going to go somewhere else and become that player that you thought he was going to be.
Listen, I don't want to see the stubbornness out of Ryan. If this
Best
Bears
player
coaching
gets it,
staff
yeah.
that he hires and that he hired and he trusts, if this Ben Johnson staff thinks that Tyler Scott or Zach Pickens or Doug Kramer or whoever the hell Ryan Bates, these guys that Ryan Poles is committed to, if they don't think these guys are good enough to be on this football team, they should be fucking gone. And Ryan Poles needs to let that be a thing.
We talked about how this offseason has been a reflection of Ben Johnson and him being in the ear of Ryan Poles and this team being made in his vision. So we should see more of that, as you said, Brandon, in these cuts and then this team, the final 53-man roster, what it's going to actually look like. That should be Ben Johnson's call because he's the one leading the competition and identifying which players are winning those competitions and which players are standing out in training camp and preseason games. So, yeah, I mean, if Ben Johnson, we talked about that stubbornness of Ryan Poles. Ben Johnson, if he's really was hired to be that guy, he should help eliminate that stubbornness because, like you said, he has no ties. He just wants the best players on the field. And Ryan Poles, I agree 100%, Brandon's got to let him do that. He's got to let him make those calls, regardless of where you pick the guy.
And I would imagine, I mean, we just extended Amon Bamija, and we also, we've heard some things from Ben Johnson about Noah Sewell. But if Dennis Allen thinks some of these linebackers, he likes Hippolyte, we know that's his guy. If he thinks one of these guys, an Amen or in Sewell, shouldn't be here, it's time to move on, man.
Let me listen. I read a article today that was a prediction of the final 53 man, and Luke Newman was sent to the practice squad, which puts him at risk of being picked up on waivers by another team. Anytime you go to the practice squad, another team can just pick you up and sign you.
That
is something worth talking about.
That's a Ben Johnson pick, and this guy's been taking all of his reps at rookie mini camps as a center, and I don't think he got much else outside of Dolman.
That list did not have a backup center. Basically, it said that Ryan Bates can play center or guard, so he's your backup center. I would be so pissed off if the Bears sent Luke Newman to the practice squad, Brandon. I would be so pissed.
On behalf of Ryan Bates? It's going to be a rough show, guys. Make sure you tune in for that one.
Well, on that particular article, there was only 9 offensive linemen carried onto the final 53. I think
which is what Ben said he wants.
I mean, 9 or 10. But what if it's 10? I mean, is Luke Newman the odd man out if it's only 9?
Ryan Bates should get cut.
That would be tough to swallow. That would be tough to swallow, man. I would not be a fan of that move if Luke Newman is put at risk of being signed by another team. I would really be, because I think this kid's going to be really good.
It would be strange to cut a guy you just drafted. I know it was a 6th round, or was it 6th round?
Round pick? Yep, 6th round pick.
It would be strange. You just extended Bill Murray. You brought him back, so he's here to stay. I'm sure. Ryan Bates, man, is the guy that's the odd man out, if you ask me. I don't see what purpose this guy served. He failed on multiple levels. He wasn't a good backup center. He wasn't a good guard. He didn't do. He
wasn't a good backup guard.
Injured. He wasn't available. Nothing that Ryan Bates did says implies that he should keep his job for another year on this football.
I agree with you 100%, Brandon. I'm just telling you the article I read, and it bothered me a little bit.
Yeah,
with the guy saying
it bothers me to hear it.
You can it bothered me to read it. You can put Luke Newman on the practice squad. That does put him at risk of being picked up on waivers by another team. But like, it's a risk worth taking or some shit. Like, no, it's not. No, it's not. Luke Newman, I think, is going to be a good guard in the NFL, and that's not a guy I would want to take that risk with personally.
And those Michigan State offensive linemen, man, I'm all
Big Ten offensive linemen in general.
Yeah, let's not do that. B-Dog says Cap said that he's been hearing that Brandon Braxton may be traded.
I
I'm just,
mean,
man, Cap is
that
starting.
remains to be seen.
Where is he hearing that?
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, obviously, a lot of these guys are a potential to be traded, but like, you got to see how this competition plays out at left tackle first. What if Trapillo or Karan are not the guys, and your best option is the guy who's a middling left tackle, but he's better than these guys? Like, I can't just say that Braxton could be gone. Like, obviously, anybody could be gone, but you don't make that decision until you've established who your left tackle is,
Well,
and you've established that that's not Braxton Jones. If you can get an
well,
asset for him once that happens, fuck yeah, go for it. But
I think it's
until
worth
then,
mentioning that when the Bears,
TBD.
when fans discuss this position, it's always left tackle, left tackle, left tackle. Man, Karan Amagaji re-injured the injury he had in college in his quad. I mean, it held him out most of last season. Guys, Darnell Wright doesn't have a backup. You need some tackles on this football team because Braxton Jones has health concerns. Karan Amagaji has health concerns. You got a rookie and Ozzie Trapillo who played most of his career on the fucking right side. Darnell Wright, if he goes down with an injury, you're just as screwed as you are on the left side, right? I mean, you've got
Yeah.
to have some tackles on this football team, man. You got to
But
think that you have two starting players in this position, right and left, and then you have two guys in the back to back up. I would imagine you need four tackles on this football team, right, Dustin?
Brandon, I'll say this, man. Braxton Jones is in a contract year. So like after this season, he needs to get paid or he needs to be gone. So like if you can get any kind of draft capital back for him, I
Like a
would do it.
seventh rounder, maybe.
I don't know, a fifth rounder maybe. I mean, maybe the round he was picked in, but I could see that. But all I'm saying is like, there's no way you do that until you know. But if you do know, hell yeah, I'm for that, Brandon. I am. I don't need to keep Braxton Jones on this roster all season just to let him walk away for nothing. If I can get something for him, I
Well,
will
what's funny
always go
is
with that option. If I'm not using a guy, I will take something for him rather than letting him go for nothing.
what's funny is you'll probably
That's my
only
opinion.
get a 6th round pick. That's the most I think will be offered for Braxton Jones, which the way this business works is so interesting because if the guy hits the market, he'll be paid some egregious $18 million a year because he's been a starting left tackle in the
Yeah.
NFL.
Dante gives some context here. He says the contract stays with the cut to the practice squad. So you can look for bets to go to the practice squad instead of draft picks. Bates and Chris Williams won't get poached with their salary. So like if they were to put, but at the same time, aren't there rules against putting guys with certain amount of years on the practice squad too? I mean, again, I'm not like an expert at this, but like in Madden, I can't put one of my vets on the practice squad. I got the options with my young guys or the guys that are on 1 year deals. So I mean, I'm not sure, but I don't know if Bates and Chris Williams can go to the practice squad. I think it's based on age, to be honest. But if
Real,
anybody
real
has
quick,
information, let me know.
this has nothing to do with nothing, guys. But V Dog, I want to say, listen. He says, "I'm with you, Brandon. Cap has been talking out his ass lately and been saying ridiculous ass shit." I actually had a conversation with Dustin, and by the way, Dustin met this individual. He's been on a podcast with us before. He's a really nice
His
guy.
his
He'll give you
wife
the time of day.
his
He's very
wife is one of the
inspired.
people that runs the company I work for. I mean, like, yeah, yeah. So I mean, like, I
He
gotta
was
say,
very inspired by us doing what we do, being young and new at this. He was, I think, happy for us, and he wanted us to grow. But
I
I
was
find
inspired. Let me say
myself
this:
disagreeing with most of what this guy says
I was
lately.
inspired by David Kaplan, Brandon. David Kaplan
Yeah,
was that
100%.
guy and did those things, kicked down the
Well, his
door, and
story is incredible.
it
Yeah.
is. It's amazing.
I
So I
mean,
mean,
how hard this guy pushed to be a basketball
but
coach to get him
I
into
don't
the
think
sports
it's a
business.
new development. I think Kaplan just is what he says, things that will cause a stir. That's kind of always been his thing, and he's really good at it. So you know what I'm saying? Like he does say things that will get a rise out of the people that are listening. That's kind of his deal, and that's why people like him, and that's why people hate him but still listen to him. And I mean, views are views at the end of the day. I think Kaplan obviously is a pretty well connected dude, knows what he's talking about at the end of the day. But at the same time, you can only speculate when you're doing what he's doing. He doesn't know what's going to happen.
And his
He
views,
also says a lot of things that are come
they,
from the perspective of the fan, guys.
yeah,
Like
he's
he gets.
become a little more outlandish than he was. I mean, I've been listening to this guy for 20 years, man. I mean, there's some things lately I feel like his opinions, like he was the one that was saying the Cubs were going to acquire Arenado, which you come to find was the Cubs tried calling and his agent didn't even answer the phone. I mean, there's just no merit to it, man.
Well,
But
I mean, again, he says those things from the perspective of a person who's a fan of the Cubs and wants them to be as good as possible, and he's hoping that they can make a play for a guy that's can help them win. So I mean, like I get it. Like he does speak. He is the ultimate in Chicago, in my opinion. He is the ultimate voice of the fan. Whether or not everything he says is on base, that's half the shit I say don't make no sense. Half the shit you know what I'm saying? Like it is. That's part of this business, but he does speak from the perspective of a fan, which is why I like him so much. But will lead itself to. I mean, I didn't expect to have a conversation about David Kaplan, but like I
well,
don't listen.
he
I
is
don't
the
listen to
next
sports talk
Vrabel.
radio guys anymore. I just don't. I
B
listen to
Dog,
podcasts.
he's a good dude, and I'm sure you're aware of that. You sound like you've been listening to him for some time. He's a good dude. Read his story if you guys haven't. He's it's very interesting. I mean, this dude just consistently pissed people off to get himself into the sports industry. He annoyed just about everybody he could as much as he could until they were like, "Fine, take a job for free," and he did. Um,
They changed that rule with the pandemic. Okay, I mean, listen, if they're able to put Bates on the practice squad and have a
Jonathan, you have
potential,
a substantial amount of knowledge on the
I
practice squad.
listen, I'd be all for that. Obviously, over Newman. Newman is not a guy that I am for putting on the practice squad and taking a chance of losing him because a
I
team
would
will pick
argue
him
that
up.
better players will be cut at this position than Ryan Bates. I would swap Ryan Bates for somebody else's garbage at this juncture, man.
No, I
I'm
totally
not sold
understand.
on this player.
I totally understand. I like if it doesn't put you in a position where you got to choose between him and Devin Duvernay, or whatever. Like, all I'm saying is like Bates could be worthwhile keep if you're not choosing between him and one of those players like you're talking about. But if you are, Bates needs to go 100%.
Ron says the pandemic. Nice.
I saw that, and then Dante was
Well,
was
hey Dante, don't. I appreciate it. I appreciate it, man. If you bring that knowledge, man, yeah, you know more than we do for sure about the practice squad, and it's something. And I know they extended it during the pandemic, right? Isn't that when it grew to 17 players? It used to be like 12, and now you can have
yeah,
17 or
yeah.
something. I'm sure Dante knows for sure.
And much like I guess the rest of the world, everything's done through Zoom now. I mean, I guess people are starting to get back to work and have been over the last couple of years, but still, like the what opened up with just this, with the podcasting thing, like from that happening, like people just being able to communicate like this, and we're not in the same room, Brandon. Like that blew up. So I guess some of those rules from the NFL have carried over and are still around today, even though there's no fucking need for them as well.
V
What
Dog
would
says,
y'all
"What do
do
with
with
Kramer?"
Kramer?
I think Kramer will be on the practice squad. I don't think he's going to make the
Yeah,
roster.
definitely
I
not.
think I do think Luke Newman ends up being the backup center on this football team, man. I don't see it being Ryan Bates. I
Yeah,
certainly don't
man.
see it being Doug Kramer. Doug Kramer is just a small guy, man. I don't.
He's
I,
just a little
and he is
guy.
he's another Big Ten offensive lineman that I was excited about. I mean, everybody knows he had the video right before the draft where he pushed a Dodge Ram up a hill. This guy's got some pretty incredible strength, but it's just that, man. It's what it looks like when I watch him play. He has played some games for the Bears that didn't look
I
good.
think I think Kramer's gone, and I think Luke Newman being that swing guy, Brandon, like you just said, who could be your backup guard or your backup center, depending, is a much better option than that being Ryan fucking Bates. I agree with you
Oh,
100%.
absolutely. Ryan Bates needs to not be on this fucking roster when the season
I'm
starts.
saying if you're choosing between Luke Newman and Ryan Bates, it's not a choice to me. It's Luke Newman. If
No,
I can
no.
keep both of
We at
them,
least
I'll do it.
yeah, we at least haven't seen Luke Newman suck.
Brandon, I would keep 10 offensive linemen and I would keep Bates as well, just in case, because I already fucking paid him anyways. And I would keep Newman. But if you're
Yeah,
only
I gotta
keeping
say,
nine,
man,
if you're only keeping nine, Bates is gone. I'm
I
keeping
gotta say,
Newman.
I split hairs with you on the whole Braxton. If I'm offered a seventh round pick for Braxton Jones, I'm probably holding on to Braxton. The Bears have had
So
tremendously bad luck at health when it comes to the tackle position, man.
I
It
you
hasn't gone
I
well for
didn't
them.
say I would take a seventh rounder for him. But at the end of the day, Brandon, you're gonna let him walk
Right.
for
If he's
nothing.
gonna walk, he's gonna yeah. But I don't know that I'm going into the season with less than 4 tackles on my football team,
I
man.
don't think Braxton Jones gets traded for a seventh rounder if he does get traded. This is all speculation from that B Dog brought up. But if he does get traded, I think it could be for a fifth round pick, and I would be more than interested in taking that if I have my left tackle position solidified. That I would. But if you're saying basically that the potential for injury and the fact that Braxton might end up needing to play for you and protect the most important piece of your franchise and Caleb Williams, that's more important to you than that fifth round pick.
Yeah, and from what I've seen from Quran, it's not good. I know I like Quran, and I think
Let's
Quran.
not let's
I
not
think
sell out on Quran,
I
man.
think it
Yeah.
gets substantially better, especially with the coaching that the Bears have put in place here. But I mean, this poor guy, man, had to go out in his second NFL start ever and play that Minnesota defense with Greenard and Dallas Turner and what's the white guy's name? Van Ginkel. I mean, he had his hands full, but he looked
Mhm.
pretty bad. He looked
Well,
pretty
yeah,
bad.
I think
That was a
anybody in
bad day.
I think anybody in his position would have looked that bad, man. And I think Quran is still going to be a solid tackle in the NFL.
If he
Let's give him
stays
some time.
healthy, that's another
Yep.
thing you got to concern yourself with.
Jed says, "Don't worry. You don't ever need to fact check me. I am 100% on point all the time." Thanks for checking in, Jed. Hit that like button if you have not
What's up,
already.
Jed? Thanks for
V Dog
joining.
says, "I would keep Bates for depth purposes if you can. Again, if it's a choice between him and Newman, it's not even a choice to me." And then V Dog asked, "Do y'all agree with the extension of Thuney at 33 years old?" Fuck yes. Fuck yes. Like you
Yeah,
don't trade for that
and
guy
this
and
was
not
another.
extend him.
You don't trade assets for players that you're just gonna. The Keenan Allen thing to me, guys. Dustin said it best. We cut a short out of it. It was a bad decision. I don't like trading assets for players you know you're going to allow leave your organization. It
Yeah,
doesn't make sense.
trading a fourth for a rental player is not a good look for your team, and it's not how you build sustained success. Yes, 100%. And Thuney on his part doesn't miss fucking games, and he's one of the best guards in football. So when you traded for him, you had better known you had a deal in place that you were going to make happen, and I'm happy they did. B Dog, to answer your question.
Yeah,
Dante says, how
and
about
then
Braxton in the seventh for a fifth? I'd be with that. I would.
And then, guys, don't forget, Jason Kelsey just played into his late 30s and was still playing at a premier level. I mean, the guy was still one of the best centers in football. These interior offensive linemen can go pretty late. You know what I mean? They can go close
Yeah.
to their 40s, man.
Well, what else we got, Brandon? We talked. I mean, we're kind of just going off the chat at this point, but that's my favorite thing to do,
There was
honestly.
another ESPN thing I wanted to touch on, Dustin. It was basically bold predictions, but they worded it in a different way. Overreactions or not. That's how this end. The first one on the list was all four teams in the NFC North will make the playoffs. So let me ask you guys, chat, before I even tell you what they said, whether or not this was an overreaction. Do you think that all four teams in the NFC North have a chance to make the playoffs? Dustin, I'll start with you.
Fuck no, no. I see a couple teams in the NFC North that are pegged for regression in my mind, and I don't know that it's bias. It could be because being a Bears fan, but there's a couple teams that I think are going to take some steps back this year, man.
Calvin says no.
Calvin C, what up, brother? Thanks for showing yourself.
Dante says hell no.
Hell no, hell no.
Awesome.
Breaking
That's
news,
awesome.
Bruce. Nope. Yep. No, that's not gonna be the
It
case,
was
man.
listed, guys, as an overreaction by the
Mm.
writer. That's why they did it intentionally. And they said the Bears are the, well, I'll say this, man. When writing, they said that the Bears are the ones who would determine this, meaning they think that all three other teams in the FC North will be playoff teams.
Well,
That was the general consensus.
the one thing we didn't talk about on that list, Brandon, because when we did our power rankings, that this was worth noting too. We had the Vikings at 17, the Packers at 16, or vice versa. I can't remember, and then the Bears at 15. We had the Packers and Vikings directly behind the Bears. This ESPN list had the Packers and Vikings directly in front of the Bears. So I mean that makes sense because when you're saying that, I mean, but even if your worst team in your division is 15th in the league in terms of your power rankings, like if you're ESPN writing these articles, that shows you how damn good the NFC North is. It really does. The
That's
NFC
a
North,
tough.
regardless of if every team makes the playoffs, which is just no fucking way. I mean, three teams is hard to do. Three teams is really hard to do. But regardless of all that, the NFC North is going to be one of the top two toughest divisions in football this year.
The NFC North is hands down, without a doubt, the best coached division in the NFC. Without a doubt. I mean, there's four elite coaches in the NFL now. If Ben Johnson pans out to be who we all think he will be, and I think he will be, and it might be a slow start like we talked about earlier tonight, guys, but I
Damn,
think
Dante.
Ben Johnson will be that guy. So you have Ben Johnson, Matt LaFleur, Kevin O'Connell, Dan Campbell, same as you have in the AFC West with Sean Payton, Pete Carroll, Andy Reid, Jim Harbaugh. These two divisions are really well coached, and I do think that they're going to have the most wins altogether. These two divisions will have the best combined record, the NFC North and the AFC West.
Dante coming in from the top rope saying the North will not get a wild card. only one playoff team out of the NFC North. I mean, if they beat the hell out of each other, and that could come to fruition.
So
I think.
Dante,
But
you're
I
you're
think you got at
saying
least
you're
two. I think
saying
you got at
just the
least two.
Lions win the division?
I'm not sure who he's saying, but yeah, I mean, come on now. I think you're going to get at least two NFC North teams in the playoffs. NDJ89 says, I have a hard time seeing Green Bay in the playoffs.
And this
Yeah,
is the
man.
general consensus, man, is that Green Bay is Green Bay is the team that's left behind. And I'm hearing this from a lot of people, not even just Bears fans. A
You
lot
know
of
why,
people,
Brandon?
because the way they performed last year against good football teams.
And not just that, because that is obviously the biggest part. But going into that year, they were everybody's darling. Every national person was saying the Packers are set for progress. They weren't expecting regression from them. They still made the playoffs, so I guess that's pretty solid regression. But as you said, they could not beat teams above 500 last year. They had a very hard time doing that, and that's going to rub national people the wrong way when they all had them pegged as this team that's on the come up, and they really didn't live up to that.
B-Dog, I think you'll know whether or not Ben Johnson has the ability to manage football games. I think you'll know that pretty immediately. I don't know that we'll know whether or not he's the leader of men that we expected out of our head coach. I don't know that we'll know that he's going to be a successful coach that wins Super Bowls within a couple of weeks of him being a coach of the Bears. But I think you'll know pretty immediately if he's the guy that can make the right decisions when the game's on the line. And that's the thing that we just haven't seen in a long time as Bears fans. We saw Matt Eberflus time and time again. I mean, guys, Matt Eberflus lost 5 football games with a 90% chance to win in the fourth quarter. No coaches. Yet the odds were, I think, 1 in 60 million that a team loses all 5 of those games. The 90% win rate in the fourth quarter. We lost all 5. I don't think Ben Johnson's going to be that dude. I mean, we're going to see pretty early on that he's not the
That he's
guy that's doing
competent.
things to lose games.
Competent in clock management and situational awareness. That's what I'll be looking for right off
And
the
when to
bat.
be aggressive, when not
Yeah,
to be aggressive. We
situational
learned from Dan
awareness.
Campbell. Yeah.
Yeah. Listen, I want to throw this out here because this is hilarious as I was reading through the chats. Jed says, Packers should regress, in my opinion. Time will tell. I guarantee Vikings underachieve like they do every year. Then Calvin C says, FGB. Then Jed says, mainly because of what Calvin said. FGB. That's why he thinks the Packers will regress, because fuck the Packers.
Yeah, V-Dog, and I agree with you. Kevin O'Connell was a good coach. He was successful pretty early on, and there was alignment there. They hired their GM, I think the same time, or maybe a year before, they brought in the head coach.
Exact same year as Ryan Poles.
Yeah. And they had a plan, and Kevin O'Connell had a vision, and I think that Ben
They
Johnson
were brought in the same year too, the head coach and the GM.
I think Ben Johnson has that, and I think the thing that you might not see immediately with Ben Johnson is the relationship with Caleb Williams that you saw in Kevin. I mean, Kevin O'Connell had some veteran quarterbacks playing football for him. He was able to win a couple of games with even a guy like Dobbs. So Ben Johnson's got to crack into Caleb Williams before he cracks into winning football games. That might be the biggest challenge.
That's his biggest goal of this season for sure, is to get Caleb Williams and thinking the exact same way he thinks. And I think if he can do that, and Caleb Williams is willing.
An extension of his mind.
Yeah. Dante answered your question. He said Bears or Vikings win the North at 10-7. He's got the Lions out of it, and the Bears or the Vikings win it.
Then maybe we should go directly into the next segment, because I've got the Vikings on a list that I'm sure.
No, I mean, if that's the next segment we need to get to, let's do it. Calvin C says we are definitely better than our record last year. Not until our record this year shows it, Calvin. But yeah, on paper, it looks like it. But
Calvin, I agree.
Got to see the results on the football field, guys.
There's a handful of games that the Bears, most other teams in the NFL, would have won without an incompetent head coach. The blocked field goal against Green Bay, the just running out of time in Detroit. I don't know if you guys remember that, when we just didn't call the 2 timeouts we had.
Everybody remembers that, Brandon.
The Washington
That's
game.
Why he got fired.
The Fail Mary. I mean, like, it's just time and time again, games that you think the Bears probably would have won if they had some better leadership, for sure. I agree with you that the record could have been reflected in a different light if there was some quality leadership on that team.
NDJ89 says we already know he is far more competent. Speaking about Ben Johnson, Ron says Eberluz was fired on my birthday. I cracked open a beer. As if you weren't going to already do that, Ron, but okay.
It was a good birthday gift.
Yeah, for sure.
About all you could ask for.
Congratulations.
I'm gonna say it was for you, Ron. That's why that happened.
B
Just for
Dog
you,
throwing
buddy.
out the QB coach JT Barrett, who we have not even mentioned. Yes, underrated addition. Another guy that's was with Ben Johnson. You know, like this staff is good. This coaching staff is very good. They are not going to fail because of these reasons that Brandon was just listing as to why Eberflus lost games that he shouldn't have lost. I think Ben Johnson, as I said, has done a good job of insulating himself from those same mistakes. He was much smarter, much more particular about how he went about hiring his coaching staff for his first NFL gig than most first-time head coaches are. And he got much better staff than most first-time head coaches can ever dream of getting. It's the amount of guys that wanted to work for this guy and the talent level of those guys and the resume of those guys. It's
Dennis Allen.
mind blowing. It's mind
Dennis
blowing.
Allen too. He knows how to coach with a lead at the end of a game. I mean, this guy's been a prominent defensive coordinator in the NFL for some time. As good as Flus was at calling plays, whenever it mattered most, he seemed to kind of fucking collapse
I
mentally.
don't think Flus was even that good at that, man. I never did. I don't know, man.
I think that Dallas defense will be all right, man. I do. I think they'll be better, possibly better than even in their offense. But again, we'll get to our list here.
Trey says we need to calm down the expectations. We're not there yet. That's what I'm saying, Trey. We got to see.
My expectation is 9 wins, Trey. I don't know if you think that that's being rambunctious. I think that that's possible for this Bears team with the 15th best roster in football.
Dante says, "Be quiet, Trey."
Yeah, don't be hating, man. No, we feel you, Trey. Me and Dustin are usually the guys to tell people to calm, slow the rolls.
It's hard not to get a good feeling about this team when you're talking about the coaching staff and the player additions that they've made, and
but then again, it's hard to ever be that confident. You know, I mean, it's also on the same side of the spectrum. It's hard to ever really have faith.
I'm walking a tightrope, Brandon. I am still undecided on how I even think this season will go down. I am not picking my wins losses until right before the season starts. I still have not, and I'm not going to until the last minute. Because I am walking a very.
Well, you know, it's not going to be 2 and something or 14 and something. You know what I mean? Because you're walking that fine line because the Bears feel like a team that could finish 9 and 8 or 8 and 9. You know what I mean?
Or 6 and 11 as well with this schedule. This schedule is a fucking gauntlet, guys. We've talked about that repeatedly. The schedule is my biggest
10 playoff teams, right?
Yes. And a couple of teams that have been perennial playoff teams like the Niners and the Bengals. Like this schedule is daunting.
And a much improved team in the Raiders, teams that are also making moves, man. So yeah, the schedule's rough.
Ron is not walking that tightrope with me. He is 15-2. Bear down. Damn. All right, Ron.
You heard it here first, guys. We thought we could win. I don't know. Trey, I didn't think the Bears could win 12 games last year.
Brandon, you picked them for double-digit wins.
We all did. 10.
10 or 11 was where most of us fell. Yeah, man. And we were way off. We were way the fuck off.
Started 4-2 and won 5 games.
And Trey says, and this is kind of where I'm at too, man. 8 or 9 games with that schedule is a successful first season for Ben Johnson with Caleb Williams.
Oh, for sure. Well, any progress, right? And listen, Trey, I don't think you're going to weigh success on the Bears' record at the end of this year. When it's all said and done, I don't know that that's going to be the thing you look to dictate whether or not Ben Johnson was the right hire or Caleb Williams was the right draft pick. I don't know that wins is going to stand out so much when it comes to how we judge the Bears at the end of this year. I think if they finished, like Dustin just said, with 6 wins, but Caleb Williams is the first Chicago Bears quarterback to throw 4,000 yards, and he throws 30-plus touchdowns, and this offense is humming, and things are going well in regards to how they carry themselves from play to play and drive to drive, because think about how easy it's going to be better than they've been. You know what I mean?
I'm just looking for them to be competitive, Brandon. I'm just looking for them to be competitive every week and to not quit. And to be disciplined,
and for it to make sense,
and for it to be competent. Yes. So I mean, and they've addressed the things they needed to address to do that. The offensive line was the biggest one, and the play calling is right there too.
Yeah, and most Bears fans don't want to hear this, guys. But try to look past the win column when you're judging whether or not the Bears are doing the right thing and they're building the foundation.
Oh yeah, I'm relying heavily on the eye test. I'm relying heavily on the eye test this year, Brandon. Heavily. I would love to see some wins, though. I would love to see some wins in
Yeah,
Chicago.
and then there's going to be things, man, that the things that you don't think so much about, but were pretty apparent last year. Are you going to hear players publicly talking about coaches and saying we're not, what I mean? We're not, players were saying we're not being coached, man.
Yeah, yeah.
Our,
That
our
won't be
quarterback
in.
said he was watching film on his own. Those are the
Players are
things
going to
that
be
you
like,
want to start seeing some change in, man.
players are going to be like, we're getting coached too much with Ben Johnson. Ben
He's
Johnson is not
mean.
going to stop coaching. V Dog, we kind of already answered this question, man. Tyreek Stevenson is a guy that both me and Brandon think is going to benefit the most from this Dennis Allen defense. I think we're in agreement there, Brandon. And just the style of play that he has and the style of play that this defensive scheme
The kid
is,
was built
I
to
think
play,
they
man.
match really, really well. Yeah, yeah.
I think he could be one of the best man corners in the league, and I don't know that he's particularly built for his zone. He gets beat a lot. The receivers are able to find the soft zones against Tyreek. He needs to be pressed on somebody. He needs to be glued to the guy he's
Brandon,
defending.
this is the perfect segue to our next segment here. Dante says, F that. Who predicted the Niners would miss the playoffs and the Commanders would be in the ship? Yes, exactly. Let me set this up a little bit, Brandon, because we're going to go overall NFL here, guys, and we can tie the Bears in here, I'm sure.
Yeah, this is an NFL report.
Yep. We're going to talk about teams that we think are going to take a leap this year, like non-playoff teams to playoff teams. We're going to talk about teams that we think are going to regress this year, playoff teams from last year that will not make the playoffs this year, who Brandon and I think falls in those categories in the NFL across the board. Just for context, 6 to 7 teams a year, 6.5 basically, that made the playoffs the year before do not make it the following year. That is a huge point to make, Dante. These teams that jump in and fall out, there's a big turnover in the NFL. We all know that. We talk about it every year. So we're going to talk about it again this year because this is important for those hopes. Because why can't the Bears make the playoffs? 100%. Why can't any of these? It's the offseason. It's time for hope. There's going to be teams that step up. We know that. It happens every year. Who are they going to be? And there's going to be teams that fall down. And we're going to talk about who they're going to be. Let us know what y'all think. Brandon, what do we got in terms of where we're going with this?
Well, I think we should start with the teams that I think we think will regress. Dustin, I know we guys, we didn't really so much make a list. I just threw a couple of teams that I think are being hyped up a little bit.
I think we're going to have a couple of the same teams.
Teams that I think there's a lot of fans think there's potential for playoff season, and I just don't see it. I don't buy it. And the one, guys, starts with the quarterback, like Ben Johnson said. It helps to have a quarterback. The team that I think is going to be probably the biggest surprise
Hurts to not have a quarterback
is the Vikings.
Vikings, yes.
Even if JJ McCarthy is a good player in the long run, guys, the difference between JJ McCarthy and all the other first rounders like Michael Penix and Caleb Williams and Drake May and Jaden Daniels, he didn't play a lot of football. So even if JJ McCarthy's projection is up, he's going to have a good career ahead of him. It's not going to be very early, I don't believe. You're starting to see successful quarterbacks in the NFL. The guys who find success early are guys who played 5+ seasons of college football, man. Guys who played 60 plus
got in the transfer portal,
60 to 80 games.
Started
guys,
for multiple teams.
Yes, who played in different schemes, different offenses, guys like that. So Michael Penix and Jaden Daniels were both 25 years old when they were trying. These were older guys who have played a lot of football. I think Jaden Daniels
was not 25.
24. Sorry.
Yeah, no. Bo Nix and Michael Penix were the elders.
So these guys are old, man. They've played a lot of football. I think Bo Nix started like 64 games in college or something, man.
Yeah, and he started like fucking 40 for Auburn before anybody even really knew who he was.
So I think the regression comes with Minnesota just having a new quarterback who hasn't really learned the ropes. He doesn't know the speed of this game quite yet. And I think that roster's good. I think that Kevin O'Connell's a good head coach. But I think this is something they're just not going to be able to overcome, Dustin.
Let me add on to that, man. I think J.J. McCarthy is the biggest variable that exists in the NFL this season. I think J.J. you don't know what's going to happen with J.J. McCarthy.
I certainly puts pressure on JJ McCarthy.
100%. This is a 14-win team, Brandon. This is a team with, like you said, with a really stacked roster, with a really good coaching staff, and it's all on this quarterback, whether or not those things work, really, at the end of the day. And nobody knows anything about him, really. Nobody knows if he's going to be any good. I don't think he's going to be any good, which is why the Vikings are on my list, because I think you're in for major regression if you go from a competent quarterback to one that is not, especially in an offense that is really relying on that quarterback being smart, making the right decisions, and hitting the deep ball often. So I mean, like, JJ McCarthy, it's just he has bust written all over him to me. And obviously, if I think that, I'm going to have the Vikings on this list because that's going to be the most important thing for that Vikings team. And I think he's going to drag them down significantly this season.
And Dante, I want to say this.
Mason is yes, I agree with you on that, Dante.
Well, no, I got to disagree. You said Jordan Mason, the old line's improved for sure. Kevin O'Connell he runs a very specific offense, and he's still got Justin Jefferson, TJ Hawkinson, and Jordan Addison. I think they're going to let this kid throw the ball, man. I think that's the way Kevin O'Connell coaches. I think he's aggressive. I think he wants to keep secondaries on their heels. That's kind of part of the appeal of Kevin O'Connell is he runs a 5 spread. He likes to air the ball out. That's why Sam Darnold just threw 4,000 plus yards. Nobody thought I guarantee you,
Kevin O'Connell uses an awful lot of play action, Brandon.
If I had asked you last year, was Sam Darnold going to throw the ball as much as he did, you probably would have said, fuck no.
Again, that was another variable. That was one of the biggest variables in the NFL offseason last year was Sam Darnold in the Minnesota Vikings. So, I mean, it's the same story again with the Vikings.
By the way, I did say the Vikings were going to be a good football team.
Yeah, and you did. And Kevin O'Connell is the common denominator here. Kevin O'Connell tends to get the best performance possible out of no matter what quarterback he has. So the odds are against me in what I'm saying. I totally understand that. I just don't have a good feeling about JJ McCarthy. But I will say this, Kevin O'Connell loves to establish the run. Kevin O'Connell loves to utilize play action. That's the biggest part of his passing game, Brandon. That's the biggest part of him hitting deep balls in his offense is utilizing the play action. And he hasn't really had a running back. I mean, you got Aaron Jones last year, and they utilized him a whole shit ton. I know that because I had Aaron Jones on my fantasy team. When he was healthy, he got utilized. So, I mean, Jordan Mason, again, can he stay healthy? I watched this guy on the Niners, and he couldn't stay healthy. Every time he got the opportunities, he would look great until he got hurt. So, I mean, the Vikings have certainly improved their offensive line, Dante. I agree with you 100%. The interior of that offensive line was completely remade, very similar to what the Bears did, very similar. And Ryan Kelly, Fries, and then drafting Donovan Jackson out of Ohio State. I love those moves for this offense. I love them. Well, so I can agree with you to an extent.
I can't help but think about some of the more recent quarterbacks, guys, that were drafted the NFL with very little experience. He has a low amount of attempts, 713 attempts, guys. The other guys that I was talking about in this who were drafted in the first round last year were in the thousands.
Yep.
I mean, this guy, if comparative to anyone in the NFL, it'd be like a Mitch Trubisky or Anthony Richardson. Very limited time in college football to be a starting quarterback. It's hard for those guys who didn't play a whole lot in college to just step into an NFL starting role and be a successful quarterback. Now, it doesn't mean that the kid can't be good one day. I think that the lack of experience that JJ McCarthy has will definitely reveal itself during this season.
It'll lead to inconsistencies throughout the season. That will lead to blemishes on their record. That for sure.
100%.
Yes. And I mean, I don't want to beat it up too much. Again, as I said, I think it's the biggest variable in the NFL this offseason. It's the one thing that nobody's really going to be able to pin down until we see it happening. Nobody knows what JJ McCarthy is. So it's going to be talked about a lot this season. And we're going to see it the first week of the season against the Bears. And I think what Ron's saying might come to fruition. This Bears defense might beat him up a little bit. But again, if anybody can make JJ McCarthy look good, I fully understand it's Kevin O'Connell. He's done that. He's already.
It's going to be a rough game for both quarterbacks in that. And it could be a low-scoring game, man.
We'll see. Who else we got on this list? You just threw out the Vikings. Let me throw one out.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Let me throw one out. I'm going to go to the AFC. If we're talking about regression. And I'm going to throw out the Houston Texans. And this sounds crazy, man, because they're in a division that they should still win. I will fully acknowledge that. Like, I don't know that there's a team in that division
that probably will, but that doesn't mean they won't regress.
Yeah, but I wanted to focus on teams that I don't think will make the playoffs. I think the Texans have a legitimate shot of not making the playoffs. I think we might have overrated CJ Stroud a little early on. I don't know which CJ Stroud that we have seen over the last 2 years is the real CJ Stroud, Brandon, but it's probably somewhere in the middle between that really
team
good.
Do you think has a chance of making the playoffs of that division? Then
no, that's why I don't want to talk about that, because I really don't think. I hate the Texans' offensive line. I think the Texans might have one of the worst offensive lines in football, bottom 10, bottom 5 offensive lines in football. And when you're putting that in front of your franchise quarterback, we've seen in firsthand in Chicago how that goes. We've seen how that goes. I think CJ Stroud is a smart dude, but I don't think that he can overcome how bad this offensive line is going to be. And I could see this team marked for regression. I think their defense will be solid for sure. But D'Amico Ryans, you brought it up, man. Maybe he's just not that guy. They're on a new offensive coordinator this
I
year
could see
with a
D'Amico
new
Ryan's
offensive
tenure
line that is
ending at the
not
end of the
improved.
season.
They traded Laramie Tunsil. I am not a fan of this Houston Texans offseason.
I think it's the worst division in football. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah,
It's
I
the
think they
worst
could be in the
division
playoffs just by default, Brandon, but I don't think that makes
me
them a
too.
playoff team.
I'm not disagreeing with you.
I don't know that they're competitive for the playoffs.
I think Joe Mixon has a big year, and I think that gets them in the playoffs. But Dustin, I agree with you strictly because I think Jacksonville, Indianapolis, I think they're Tennessee. I mean, it's grim
Yeah,
over there, man.
exactly.
That is
Yeah.
the worst of the worst. They could have three of the bottom 5 teams in the NFL, Dustin. 3 might come out of that division. We know what the Colts are made of. I don't care about Tyler Warren, man. Anthony Richardson is a bust. I'm going to go ahead and say that now.
Yeah, it seems like he is. And when your other option is Daniel Jones, that's not pretty either, man. The AFC South is an ugly fucking division. If there was a team that I would pick that could supplant the Texans, I would take the Jaguars because of Trevor Lawrence, because of the change in coaching, which I think was their biggest issue. There was a good amount of talent on this team. They were just in the playoffs a couple of years ago and took the Chiefs down to the wire with Trevor Lawrence as their quarterback. So if I were going to make a case for a team to supplant the Texans, it would be the Jaguars. They added the best player in this draft. They were aggressive in this draft, getting the things that they wanted. There's talent on that team. But their offensive line has been suspect too, Brandon. So that's really what it keeps coming back to for me.
Yeah, I don't know that Trevor Lawrence is going to have time to get the ball to Travis Hunter or Brian Thomas Jr., man.
Brian Thomas Jr. is going to explode again this season. So, yeah, the Jaguars would be that team to me. But like I said, I think the Texans probably.
And Liam Cohen is a quality play caller. Man.
We'll see how that goes. But I think the Texans probably win this division by default, just because it is so bad. But I don't think that makes them like a legitimate playoff team.
An immediate first round elimination. Yeah. I'll say I'm going to go with another team here, man. And I didn't go so strong, Dustin, as to playoffs, non-playoffs to playoffs. I think a team that didn't make the playoffs last year is going to not make the playoffs again, but there's a lot of fucking hype around this team, and I'm going Dallas Cowboys.
There's always a lot of hype around the Cowboys.
I think the Dallas Cowboys are well underperform what people think that they're going to do this season, man. I think it's going to be a rough year for both the offense and the defense over there, man. I think Dak Prescott's going to be one of those players that's able to throw the stats, but it doesn't always equate to the record on. And I think you're about to see a long drought for the Dallas Cowboys because I think that their coach is going to be fired in 2 years from now. That's what I think. The Cowboys Schottenheimer is going to be terminated before he ever does anything on that for that organization. I think.
Is it Luke Schottenheimer?
It's Luke, isn't it?
That sounds wrong. Isn't it Brian? Isn't it Brian Schottenheimer?
It'll be Brian. That's my point, kind of. I guess.
Luke Bryan.
But is it Luke Bryan? Is he the coach? And I think this too, man. I think Deion Sanders ends up being the coach of that football team. I do, but I don't see the Cowboys having much success. I don't like Alfred Blue as much as everyone else does. They've had the inability to run the ball. I don't see that changing too much. I know that Javonte Williams is there now, man. I don't know. The Cowboys is a team that I think everybody's projecting playoffs and possibly even winning their division over Washington. I see them falling well out of the playoffs, not even in the hunt.
All right, is this my spot where I can now respond to what you're saying?
No.
Okay. The Cowboys had a rough offseason. Luke Bryan Schottenheimer, not a good head coaching hire. He's a cowboy with no horse to ride. It's going to be a problem for the It's going to be a problem for the Cowboys this year. I tend to agree with you. Their offensive line did not improve; it got worse. Their running game is
that's somebody retire, right?
Zach Martin. Their running game is non-existent. I don't know about Blue. I don't know if he's going to be any good, but they've had major problems establishing the run, which is a major issue in the NFC East.
Pickens
and football,
can be a problem.
Football in general. Listen, Pickens can be a problem for the defenses. This is where I was about to go. If I'm gonna paint a picture where they find a way, it's because you got a second receiver across from CeeDee Lamb. Because CeeDee Lamb is one of the best fucking receivers.
Yeah, he needs some
2 or 3.
He needs some man on man. That guy's can't be double covered.
Yeah, so I mean, and even when he is, he still gets off. But George Pickens could get off while he's double covered, and if that attention comes away from Lamb and goes to Pickens because he's getting off. Now Lamb can get off, and Dak Prescott is a much better quarterback than people want to give him credit for. As you said, he'll throw for the yards, so they won't be out of games. The defense with Matt Eberflus, I don't know. I don't know how that's going to go. Their secondary has been pretty solid. I don't put the Cowboys on this list because I don't think that they're very good, and I don't think they were very good last year. I would just say that they're hyped up every year, Brandon. So you can pick the Cowboys to put on this list every year. No matter what they do, they get talked about an awful lot every offseason. And that's why I fucking hate the Cowboys. But I love CeeDee Lamb. And if the Cowboys are going to stay in games, it'll be through the air. It'll be through the air.
Dante asks, are you guys buying the Cardinals? I think the Cardinals stay pretty close to where they finished last year 8-9. I think they could finish with the same record. I think that maybe not one game better. Dante, I don't think they're in a tough division too with the Niners and the Rams. I don't think the Cardinals come close to the playoffs. I think you'll know that they're not a playoff team pretty early on.
NFC West looks like a tough division. I don't know yet. Again, I haven't picked my win losses, so I want to look at that. But I am not buying the Cardinals. I am a fan of Kyler Murray, and I think he can be a top 10 fantasy quarterback this year.
And Marvin Harrison's going to have a good season, guys.
Yeah, I don't know if that equates to wins for them, but again, they were feisty last year, Brandon. If they were that again this year, I don't think anybody would hold that again.
They're missing a lot, man. There's no other way to spin that. They're missing a lot. They've got a questionable offensive line. I love their running back, but he can't seem to stay healthy, man. James Conner. They do have Trey McBride. They've got Marvin Harrison, but I don't see them greatly improved. I guess I should say, Dante.
Chat's jumping in. Calvin C says, I hate the Cowboys almost as much as Green Bay. Yeah, fuck the Cowboys. Fuck Green Bay.
Me both.
And Jed says, the Cowboys need to go back to what made their dynasty great, the tried and true tradition of strippers and crack. I threw in the tried and true tradition.
They'd be more respectable.
Yeah. Listen, my team, I'm going to go. You went NFC twice in a row, so I'll go back to the AFC, man. And you're going to disagree with me on this one.
Yeah, because it's the Steelers.
Fuck you, dude. All right,
I knew you were
done. No, I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore. You just ruined this. Take me home. Take me home, okay?
I will pull this offense over.
You're offensive, man. Yes. Guys, it's the Steelers. Brandon stole my the win from my sales because he's a piece of shit.
Thunder.
Guilty
as charged.
Trying to get ahead of the debate. Look at you, very manipulative.
He's Calvin says Pittsburgh.
The Steelers, I think, are in for regression, Brandon. And it's a weird for me to be on this side of this conversation with the Steelers because you know me every year. I am a full believer in Mike Tomlin and the Steelers infrastructure. I've been a fan of Steelers since I was a kid. I've always seen them do it the right way. I have not seen that in the last offseason with the Steelers. They've seemed desperate. They seem like they're like in a win now mode, or it's win or else. I don't like the trades that they made. I don't like the fact that they traded away Minkah Fitzpatrick. They did just re-sign TJ Watt and extend him, which was a very smart move.
It's a good player, man.
Ramsey's a solid player. He's not better than fucking Minkah Fitzpatrick. He's not in my opinion. You thought you needed a cornerback? Okay, their cornerbacks are really good. The Steelers got 3 really good cornerbacks, that's for sure. But Aaron Rodgers is burnt, dude. Aaron Rodgers is done. And this is a desperation move, and it's going to end up fucking them. If there is a guy that can ruin the culture of the Pittsburgh Steelers under Mike Tomlin's nose, it's Aaron Rodgers. And I would bet on that happening over Aaron Rodgers becoming a glue guy for the fucking Steelers and them winning games because of it. Regardless of his talent that he still might have and how much more it might be than Russell Wilson last year, the Steelers find a way to win games because Mike Tomlin. But if Mike Tomlin gets usurped in terms of leadership in that building by a guy who works against him and Aaron Rodgers, a guy who does his own thing, that could be major, major problems for the Steelers. I don't like it. They added DK Metcalf too, man. They've done some good things. They drafted Caleb Johnson.
Let me rebuttal a little bit.
No, you went for 7 minutes on your Cowboys thing.
I think Aaron Rodgers at this point of his career is an upgrade from Russell Wilson at the point of a career he was last season. I also think that Jonnu Smith, the addition they made with the trade, had his best years under Arthur Smith in Tennessee. I could see Jonnu Smith actually playing a pretty big role in Pittsburgh.
What are Jonnu Smith's best years, though?
I think
Freiermuth is better than him.
Actually, I was looking at it today, man. He actually had 3 quality seasons, man.
They were okay. They were okay seasons.
For anybody out there who thinks Cole Kmet's a good player, Jonnu Smith was better. I'll say.
I don't think Cole Kmet is a good player, so that doesn't really make a point for me.
But I think Roman Wilson's gonna have a.
Now Sean's gonna be upset. Fuck, I shouldn't have said that.
Damn it,
I
Dustin.
got
Now we're gonna hear
emotional,
about it.
and I said Cole Kmet's not a good player, and now this is going to be a problem. God damn it! God damn it!
I think that Roman Wilson's due for a breakout season if he's able to stay healthy. I think he's kind of that Swiss Army knife that Devon has changed just from a receiver position more so than the running back. Like a Jaden Reed type guy. I think you're going to see a lot of him. He's going to make a big impact. I'm going to say this, man. I think the Steelers do make the playoffs, and I think they finish second in that division. I think the Bengals fall short.
I would take the Bengals over the Steelers in that division this year, just
Right.
on the strength of Joe Burrow being
Defense is
yeah,
egregious, man.
Yeah, no, it is. But Joe Burrow is one of the top two quarterbacks in
And
the
they can't
NFL.
seem to sign their
So
first round pick.
uh,
He's going back to college.
it's not looking good, but I think they'll figure it out. I'm not here to make a case for the Bengals so much as just kind of state that if there were a year that the wheels were going to fall off for this Mike Tomlin led Steelers organization, it is this year. So
That's
I'm
the
going to
reason
play.
I can't stray, man.
I'm going to play the odds on that.
I just can't stray from Mike Tomlin's success, regardless of how bad the quarterback's
Listen,
playing.
could
If Kenny Pickett, Justin Fields, Russell Wilson can all get you to the playoffs, and old Aaron Rodgers can get you to the playoffs.
Yeah, and you got Roman Wilson in his second year and hopefully healthy. You got DK Metcalf. They need other guys to step up. They do have the two tight ends, and they got Caleb Johnson, and they got Jalen Warren, who I think is better than Caleb Johnson this year probably. So they have talent, and they have a good defense. And then Mike Tomlin is one of the top 3 head coaches in the NFL. So I mean, it's hard to bet against.
Their defense is, I think, underestimated.
It's hard to bet against the Steelers, and you know that's not something I've ever done, Brandon, as long as you've known me. But if there is a year that is going to happen, I see it being this year. And I'm looking at the AFC, man, with the Chargers, the Broncos, the Chiefs. I'm looking at the Bills. I'm looking at the Ravens, the Bengals as well. You can throw them in. Those are all the teams that made the playoffs besides the Steelers and the Texans. If I'm picking 2 teams to not make the playoffs this year out of the AFC, because we know damn near half of those teams aren't going to make it, I'm going with the Steelers and the Texans. Just based on that, I'm not picking the Bills.
So you think 3 teams make it from the West again? Chargers, Broncos, Chiefs?
Well, see, this is a great question because I wanted to get to this V-Dog question. Anyone buying the Chargers? I am buying all the stock on the Chargers. All of it. Give me everything I can get on the Chargers, and I'm not selling until it's at the top because Jim Harbaugh is that dude, man. Jim Harbaugh is just that dude. And Justin Herbert is a damn good quarterback.
Jim Harbaugh, Marion Hampton relationship.
Marion Hampton is going to go off for them.
Yeah.
Lad McConkey in his second year, that defense will be better. I think the Chargers, if you're talking about teams taking a leap, I think the Chargers are a team that were a playoff team last year that could now this year jump to contender, like top 4 teams playing in the AFC Championship. They could get to that point. That's how high I am on the Chargers, V-Dog. So, yeah, I think 3 teams could still very much potentially make it out of the AFC West, and that probably will be what happens. I don't think the Steelers are coming out of the AFC North with a wild card, and they're definitely not winning that division.
Mike Ross, don't you do that, Mike. Don't you start trouble. He says Kyle Pitts versus Cole Kmet. I think Kyle Pitts
floor is yours.
Season than Cole Kmet. That's V-Dog, Shane Orling, man. Not too many people have ever said that name or in my presence. I love Shane Orling. I think he's the best guy on sports radio right now. I think he'll eventually have his own show.
Trey says V-Dog. He's solid. He's a good dude. V-Dog said V-Dog, I'm buying the Chargers. Trey Shy says Razzle Dazzle jumps in to throw some Kool-Aid on our parade. We finally had a show, thank you, about drinking the Kool-Aid. Thank God for that show. Is he saying like we're talking about kind of slowing the roll with the Bears? Is that I'm confused.
I don't know.
Yeah. About drinking.
While we're on that subject, most improved. No, I'm just kidding.
No, we're gonna get there. We're gonna get there, Razzle. Just stay tuned.
Another team does tonight. When we can jump into our most improved teams soon here, but another team that I think guys don't buy the stock, sell. The Miami Dolphins. Miami Dolphins have found a way to make it into the playoffs the last couple seasons when Tua was healthy. Even if Tua does stay healthy this year, that team will not make the playoffs. I think Mike McDaniel's career as a head coach is all but at its end by the end of this season. I like him as a play caller. I like him as an offensive coordinator. He's not a head coach. They continue to win games early in the season and lose games late in the season. Tyreek Hill is a problem. Everybody knows that. Tua's not a good quarterback, guys. Hate me for saying it. I know I'm going to get some hate from Sean and Kyle. Tua's not a good quarterback. He's not. and Jalen Waddle's the best thing on
Tua
that
can
team.
have all the counting stats he wants, but when the game's on the line, I don't trust him, and I don't think he's a very good quarterback either, Brandon. I just
No,
don't.
and
I think
I think if you put him on a
he's
team that
overpaid.
doesn't
He's
have one of the
overrated.
better,
He's
put him on a
very
team that
injury
doesn't have
prone.
one of the best play callers in the league, he falls well short of success. That's what I think.
Oh, Razzle was talking about some other show. Thanks, Razzle. Listen, I don't think the Miami
What the
Dolphins.
fuck, Razzle?
We're it's the Halas Hall Hangover, man. We're not drinking the Kool-Aid on the Halas Hall Hangover. I don't have any Kool-Aid. I'm trying to stay away from the sugar,
I would like
guys.
some Kool-Aid.
And I got the sugar-free energy stuff in my water. It's good. I drop a hydrogen tablet in here and mix some of that. It's pretty good. So I guess you can count this as my Kool-Aid.
Microdosing on the podcast.
I fucking wish, dude. You got some?
Judd says, I love Tua against a bad defense in fantasy. Dude, literally my thought when it comes to, because everybody talks about Tua and his stats, and all I think about is the only thing that equates to ever for me, for Tua, is he's a plausible second string fantasy quarterback on your football team. Because honest to God, Dustin, we talked about this when he was due for a contract and the Dolphins paid him. If he had bet on himself to go get money elsewhere, he would have failed miserably and been forgotten about. You know that's how I feel. We talked about that time and time again. The dude is not a good quarterback. I'm sorry, man. He's not. And I love Tua. I have since he was in Alabama. He seems like a real cool dude. He does. And I wish this guy would stop getting his head taken off. Honest to
No,
God.
yeah, I worry about
the
his
best for him
safety.
and his
I
future,
worry
man.
about his safety more than anything. I think Mike McDaniel's a dead man walking. I think that defense
do I.
is very.
So
I think
do
that
I.
defense is very suspect. They
Oh, it's
got some
awesome.
fun. They got some fun weapons, and Tua can be a beneficiary of their ability to make plays after the catch, 100%. But Tua is not a guy that I am banking my season on in terms of making the playoffs. I don't think the Dolphins are really even in this conversation because I don't think they're a playoff team. They weren't last year. I don't think they are this year. I don't think that that's a much of a statement
I think the
saying that
Patriots finished
they're
second
going to
in the division.
regress. Yeah.
And all jokes aside, Mike Russ, he is one hit away from it. No doubt about it. If that guy sustains one more head injury, he will have some long-term damage.
Tua
I
is a
truthfully,
left-handed Purdy. Huh. I don't know about that
if I
either,
were
man.
Tua, I would have hung it up. The guy's made his money. He's got a family. I would have called it.
I'm going to
Honestly,
throw one more out here, Brandon.
he says that was not a joke. I know you weren't making
Yeah.
light of it, Mike. I know you weren't. But I agree with you. If you guys were Tua, wouldn't you just walk the fuck away?
I mean, listen, we'll see how the season goes for the Dolphins. I don't think it's going to be a good one for them. I think that's maybe a 5-win team, Brandon.
Yes, and Jed makes a good point here too. After a few of these concussions he suffered, he continued to play.
And that can make it worse. Yes. Let me throw another team out here because I'll be remiss if I didn't. It's the Chicago Bears podcast, and a team that I think will regress and not make the playoffs this year is the Green Bay Packers. I think the Green Bay
one
Packers.
Everybody was waiting for.
I think the Green Bay Packers are falling out of the playoffs this year. I'm not the biggest fan of much about that roster. I think Josh Jacobs is in for regression. He's had a lot of carries, and every time he had a lot of carries last year, and the year before that, his carries went down. Yeah. When his carries went down a little bit the year before, then he has a breakout year this past season with all those carries. And now he's well up over 300 carries, 300 touches last year, and I think he's in for more regression this year. I think Jordan Love
and possibly an injury. I'm not wishing that upon him, but that's kind of the trend of his career, man. When he's got a good season,
I don't want to talk. Yeah, that could be a part of that regression. Yeah, totally. I think when you're banking on Christian Watson to be your number one receiver, you're in a world of hurt because Christian Watson cannot stay healthy. I think Jordan Love is careless with the football. I think he loses games on his arm as much as he wins them, and I don't think you can bank on that either. I think he's a very up and down quarterback, and I've defended Jordan Love, but I don't see him, taking another step. I just don't. I think that's kind of who he is. He's a guy that's going to win you some games with his arm, and then he's going to lose you some games with his arm. And when the game is on the line, you do not want that guy to be your quarterback. That's just how I feel about it. I don't think their offensive line is particularly great either. I don't like the signing of Banks at guard this year. I think that was an overpay. I think they're trying to improve it. I don't know. Just in general,
I think they regress. You're 100%.
Their secondary is really good. The Packers secondary is really good, and I like.
And Edgerrin Cooper is one of my favorite players.
Yeah, I mean they have some good players on defense for sure, and if that defense can hold them up, maybe I'm wrong, but I think the offense really kind of lets them down this year. And I think when LaFleur has the opportunity to make a mistake in a big moment in a game, he will make it, and I think Jordan Love
Lucas,
will too.
real quick, I think Edrin Cooper's about to. He was a rookie last year. I think he's about to break out as one of the better linebackers in the
Damn
NFL.
good player, man.
But I will say this, Dustin. If you look at the way that team responds to quality opponents like they did
Yeah,
last year, we talk about the Bears' schedule. We don't know what the Bears are going to be made of. We know that Ben Johnson's coached really well against some of the best defensive coordinators in the NFL. So we can bank on the Bears probably being competitive against even good defenses.
yeah. There's
That
really nothing
Packers
but
team,
quality teams on that Packers schedule, right?
that Packers team played good teams last year, guys. They just couldn't foot the bill, and I just don't think they're gonna this year. And they play a lot more good teams this year than they
Yeah.
did last year. That's the problem I see with that team.
And I think that that's part of the Jordan Love conundrum, right? Like he's a guy that's good enough to win you a game with his arm, but he's just as bad enough to lose you it. And those are the games that the quarterback needs to have control. Those tight games against quality teams, good defenses, Brandon. That's when you need your
Can't
quarterback
turn
to
the
not
ball
make
over against good.
mistakes.
Yeah,
Jordan Love tends to make those mistakes in big moments against good teams, and that's why you lose those games. I think those two things are directly correlated. Directly correlated.
oh, real quick. I'm gonna throw Sean. Sean had some teams, man. He wanted me to.
Are these the
Because
regression teams?
I made the total list, so you're gonna see both. But
No, no, let's wait. Then wait. We're not done. Wait till the end.
okay, are we going into improved?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and Mike Ross asked, do the Bears have the
Wait,
most talented QB in the
listen.
division? He
I'm
thinks so. So do I.
honorable
Yeah.
mention, but I don't want to have war here on this show because Dustin's gonna murder me.
He's going
I
to
think
say
the
the
I
Niners.
think the Niners fall short of expectations. I do. I think the Rams win that division. I think the Niners definitely fall short of expectations. I think health is not something you can take for granted. We can't just look at the Niners and suspect that all things will go well, considering the amount of injuries they had last
I'm
year.
not suspecting that right now,
Yeah.
man. When you got your two best receivers on the pup list to start the season, that's a problem. When is Brandon Ayuk coming back? Is Ricky Pearsall going to be healthy? That's concerning to me when you have just
Will
extended your
Christian do it
quarterback.
for another year, man? I don't know. It's
C-Mac, I don't have a question about. I'm telling you, if you can get C-Mac late in the first round, you're going to get a steal in fantasy. I think he's in for a big year. I think this
healthy.
defense,
He's going to be good.
what
That's
he's
the
going to be
story that
great.
is.
He's going to be great. The thing that I bank on with the Niners, man, is the defense. They went and got Salah. They went and got impact players to help them against the run, which they've been really bad against the last couple of years. Whereas when their defense was humming, they were really good against the run. And as we've talked about with the Bears, if you can't stop the run, you can't rush the passer. You know what I'm saying? So like the Niners are trying to impact that. They drafted defensive line with their first two picks. They're trying to improve their.
Who signed?
Yeah, both
Alfred
signed.
Collins. Yeah.
Both Collins and Mikael Williams. Those are good players, and I think they're going to impact this team pretty early on. I mean, they lost Halafunga or whatever, but I mean, like he's been injured, pretty consistently
So you think
the
the
last
Niners
couple of years.
would be a strength on defense?
Yes, I think that's what they need to get back to, and I think Saleh makes a big. Saleh was a joke as a coach, as a head coach, but as a defensive coordinator,
Oh,
he was one of the best
he's
fucking
gonna be.
coordinators
He
in the
gets past. He
NFL.
gets. I mean, look at some of the players that left his Jets team that just fell flat on their face. He gets more out of players on defense for
You're
sure.
going to see a lot of images of the Niners kicking ass on defense and Robert Saleh jumping up and down on the sideline, headbutting dudes when they're coming off the field after they make a huge play. You're going to see that a lot with the Niners this year.
He got Bryce Huff paid a whole lot of money, and we knew what happened with that after that. While we're on the subject,
So,
though,
yeah, I
while
disagree with you. I think the Rams fall out and the
I knew you
Niners
would.
step up. Yeah.
Well, this chat comes out
A
though.
lot of people are high on the Rams, man, so you're not alone. I'm kind of on an island here, but the Niners over-under is 10.5. That is high for a
But I
Niners
think the
team.
Niners are a talented team with a really good coach, man. I just don't see
Fuck
that.
yeah, they are.
I don't think that health thing works out for
If
him.
Brandon Ayuk comes back healthy within the first few weeks and Ricky Pearsall's out there, I'm not worried about it. But if those
Juwan
guys are
Jennings
having
is a
trouble,
really quality football
Juwan
player.
Jennings is a damn good third receiver to have on
Well,
your
Dante
team.
says
Yeah.
this though. Well, first off, Dante, I think the Bucks win this division, and I think the Bucks finish as the second best team in the NFC. They have the strength of schedule in the NFL. I think that they just added Emeka Egbuka. We want to talk about improved. I think this Buccaneers team, sky's the limit. I think Baker Mayfield, I already made a bet on FanDuel that Baker Mayfield throws the most yards this season. I think he comes close to 5,000 yards, if not over. I think between Jalen McMillan, Emeka Egbuka, Chris Godwin healthy, and Mike Evans, this is going to be an outrageous offense to try to defend. But all that being said,
But
As good as I think the Bucks are, and they will be, because they're go look at their schedule, guys. But the Falcons are a much improved football team,
I fucking love the Falcons,
and
bro.
they're one of the teams
We've
on
been
my
talking
list.
about this. Yeah, they're on my list too. They're
Yes,
on my
the
list.
the Falcons. I think Michael Penix. Listen, that dude's got an ugly. He throws that lefty ball. He's kind of slow from his release, but he's just one of those the Ben Roethlisberger type. He reminds me of those big guys, man. He's got something to him. My eye test says that Michael Penix is going to be a successful quarterback in the NFL based off what I've seen so far. I like what they've done. I thought that their offense was already kind of quality, to be honest. Bijan Robinson, Drake London are really good football players. I think Kyle Pitts is. I'm gonna listen. I'm gonna take a chance on Kyle Pitts
Do you
late in the
think,
fantasy.
Brandon? Do you think that Kyle Pitts is going to have a better season than Cole Kmet?
Yes. I think Kyle Pitts is going to be a guy I take late in fantasy drafts and I steal from people. But I think that more importantly, I think that the picks
I
that the
think that's
Falcons
stupid.
made, I think the
I think
picks
that's
that the
stupid.
Falcons made on defense, they got a really good safety. They got two quality pass rushers. They did exactly what Raheem
Xavier
Morris
Watts,
needed to do to make this
Pierce.
team. Yes.
Yes.
And
Yeah,
it's funny too. These two teams, their coaches are the most comparable in the league to me, between the Falcons and the Buccaneers. Raheem Morris and Todd Bowles. I get these guys confused because they're like the same fucking person. But I think that the Falcons are a much improved team. Now, Dustin, I'm going to say this. After all that, I don't think they're a playoff team. I think they, however, a much improved team from what they were last year. Go ahead, man.
let me say this, man. I think you're insane if that's your strategy for
Well, no, I'm going to have another tight end. I just
yeah,
found it.
yeah. Listen, I did that
Don't
with
question
Kyle
my
Pitts.
strategy.
I'm questioning it. Don't draft Kyle Pitts. If you can avoid drafting Kyle Pitts, just avoid it. And if he does well, like just let it, just be okay with that, because the odds are that he's kind of just who he is. If he can catch the ball, he'll do all right. But
I mean,
as you
Desmond Ritter was his quarterback for the first 4 years of his career, dude.
no, for sure. Listen, but like he had Cousins last year and Penix at the end of that
Cousins
season,
was awful.
and it didn't really well better than fucking Desmond Ritter. You're throwing Desmond
No,
Ritter
he
out there.
was. Cousins went 5 games with no touchdowns and 4 interceptions. He
Cousins
was
was
awful.
better
He
than
was the
Desmond
worst
Ritter.
quarterback in the NFL
All I'm
last year.
saying is if Kyle, don't let him be your starting tight end. Do not let Kyle Pitts be your
No,
starter.
he shouldn't be your starter. No, but if you draft him late, you're gonna get something out of him. Michael
Listen,
Penix is gonna throw the ball, man.
I wrote a piece on the draft the first after the first round because I just loved so much what the Falcons did with taking Jelon Walker and then trading back up to get Pierce in the first round because they needed pass rush so
And I
desperately.
love both players,
And
man.
yeah, I do too. And I think that they have great upside that a lot of people aren't giving them
And
credit
Xavier
for.
Watts is the shit.
A lot. Xavier Watts is amazing. They got hammered for making that trade, but I think it's going to pay off for a defensive head coach in Raheem Morris, who did not have a pass rush last year, so he could not do anything that he wanted to do. In my mind, that's an example of a coach saying to his GM, "I didn't have this. I need this. We'll be successful." And the GM was aggressive in getting it. So I fucking love moves like that. I think that changes your defense in one draft. That's what I think. And I think Raheem Morris is a damn good defensive coordinator, and he's a good head coach. I think on his second time around, you saw the Falcons be feisty last year, Brandon. They were a playoff contender
When they
until the
got
last week of
Cousins
the fucking
out, they
season,
looked good, man.
and they were still contending to be in the playoffs. I think you could see them potentially take the Bucks out and win that division.
No way.
I could totally see that. But I could see the Falcons being a playoff team this year, one way or the other. It's going to be tough to see two teams out of the NFC South with a playoff, but the same thing I said last year. It was between the Falcons and the Bucks, and that came down to the wire, man, in terms of who won that division and who made the playoffs. And I think it's the same thing again this year. I'm not as high on the Bucks as you are. I love Baker Mayfield, and that team is good, but I think the
And
Falcons
their
are on the come up.
schedule is outrageously
And
easy.
I think Bijan Robinson is in for one of the best running back seasons we have seen in a long time this season. That's what I think.
Another thing, Dustin, you talked about the trades they made to acquire pass rushers. I mean, everybody shit. I did it as well. I shit on this team for drafting Michael Penix after giving Kirk Cousins a 4-year
That was
billion-dollar deal, and it paid off
they
because
deserve to be shitted on, Brandon.
Cousins is done. From what I
Okay,
saw last year, that guy is done. He's
but
done.
the reason they deserve to be shitted on is because we knew Cousins was done before they signed him to that contract and gave him all that guaranteed money. They
Well,
knew
I
it.
think they
That's
got
why they
shit on.
drafted a quarterback.
I don't think they
No,
got shit on for the signing of Cousins. I think they got shit
yeah,
on
they
for the
did.
drafting of Michael Penix.
They did 100%. I mean, that was what Lombardi came out and said right away. Like, why do you go give Cousins all this money if you're going to be in a position to draft a quarterback in the first round? Why not just do that and save yourself the money? That was my biggest thought about it. It wasn't about the fact that they took Penix as much as it was, and I thought Penix was a bit of a reach too, for sure. But you want your quarterback, go get your guy. That's fine. But don't pay the other. They were clearly not convinced that Cousins was gonna be that guy, because if they were, they wouldn't have used that asset when they could have used it for something else.
Well,
that was a high draft pick, the 8th overall pick.
And their GM went out and
got
Kirk
bad
Cousins.
Asset management, Brandon. It was.
And I forget the general manager went out and got Kirk Cousins. The selection of Michael Penix was Raheem Morris. A defensive head coach was the guy who made that pick. He said, if Michael Penix was the player I wanted, I wasn't going to wager on it. I mean, which is strange to hear a defensive head coach.
The GM is Terry Fontenot, Brandon, for the Falcons, and I think he did right by his coach in this draft, and I think that will pay off for the Falcons. Drake London, and I'll say this: Drake London is in for one of the best seasons a wide receiver is going to have this year too. Drake London is going to fucking snap this season. So when you say that you like Kyle Pitts this year, I say that I think Drake London is in for one of the top 5 wide receivers seasons this year statistically. Bijan Robinson is in for one of the best running back seasons that we're going to see. How does that not equate to this team being competitive and pushing for a playoff spot? I really like the Falcons.
I don't think
their defense is improved.
Say they're not going to push for listen, I think
you said that you don't think they'll be a playoff team.
There's no way. There's no way the Buccaneers don't win this division, man. That's crazy to me to even make that statement.
You could say there's no way, but this shit happens every year. These teams go up and down, and more specifically in the NFC South. The NFC South has had more variance than most of these divisions.
Well, the Buccaneers have won it for 3 years in a row. So
yeah, but historically in my lifetime, the NFC South is one I always see consistently going up and down. The Buccaneers are a good team, Brandon. I'm not going to debate that, but I think it's totally plausible that the Falcons win that division and take the Buccaneers out. I think it's totally plausible. I don't think the Buccaneers are a top 10 team in the NFL like you do, though. So you're a lot higher on them than I am. I think the NFC South is still weak overall. So
I think the Buccaneers are a team that's going to exploit a really easy schedule. That's
for sure. I mean, but listen, I'll say this too. The Panthers, I think, are going to be better than people expect this year. I think the Panthers will be a sneaky good team, and they'll be competitive in every game. They're not going to be a playoff team, but you're not going to sleep on them before you play them. Bryce Young is going to have he's going to have the best season of his career this year, and I think the Panthers will be better. So, I mean, I think the NFC South overall will be better this year than I thought it would be last year, but I think the Falcons have a chance, man. The Falcons have a chance at that division.
I can't find it, guys. I was trying to find. Sorry, I was looking for the last 5 games that Kirk Cousins started. Man, this statistics.
Oh no, he was awful, man. Nobody
really knows how bad that actually.
No, we do. It was a huge story, and he was benched. It was a very public story. Everyone knows how bad he was.
Awful.
I understand. But to say nobody knows, it was a national story. He was getting shitted on week to week, and he was losing.
Yeah, and he went 5 weeks without a touchdown pass.
Yeah. No, it was bad for sure. But I Kyle Pitts' deficiencies cannot be put on Kirk Cousins in my mind. Kyle Pitts was dropping balls.
It can't be put on the combination of Kirk Cousins and Desmond Ridder. It can't be slightly contributed to that.
All I'm saying is that I am once bitten, twice shy with Kyle Pitts. I'm not touching him in fantasy. If he wants to prove me wrong, I am all for that.
Oh, you had him before. I've never had him.
No, I drafted him last year, very late, and he ended up being it was in an auction draft. I got him for like $1 or something, but I just missed out on all the tight ends. But I also went into that fantasy draft thinking if I get Kyle Pitts late for cheap, I'm okay with that. The same way you're thinking right now, it didn't work out very well for me. That's all I'm saying. Because I thought Pitts was in for a better season last year.
But I'm
I'm done with that.
When they have a better QB lined up, man.
Well, listen, they had Penix and Cousins going into that season, so I expected that offense to be better. Well, I expect that offense to be better this season than it was last season. I think the Falcons are a team that both you and I are high on in terms of coming out of nowhere and maybe surprising some people. Jed says the only time I'm taking the Falcons is if I'm playing Madden.
Yeah, laughs at that.
I mean, if you're still playing Madden 04, man, damn, that's nostalgic. That's like busting out the N64. Damn near.
All right, Dustin, we got another team improved.
We brought up the Falcons. I'll bring up the Raiders. Man. Listen, and again, I don't know that I don't know that the Raiders are in the playoffs. I don't think they are. But I think that this is a playoff style team. I think that they're a very competitive team. I think every game they're going to be well coached, they're going to be disciplined, and they're going to get the job done. I love Brock Bowers. Geno Smith will be a solid option for them while they find their real quarterback. But they just drafted Genty. Offensive line is solid, man. The defense, you got Crosby and
a good
Wilkins.
receiver.
Yeah. I mean, well, they didn't just add one. They added Jack Besh. But my
That's what I was
sleeper,
talking about.
yeah. No, I was going to mention somebody else though. My sleeper of this draft at the receiver position was Dante Thornton Jr., who the Raiders also drafted. The guy is fucking huge and runs one of the fastest 40s in the NFL. He is a burner.
He was he was making a lot of headlines before the combine.
Yeah, he's like 6'5". He ran like a 4.3 440 or something like that. He was insane. I might not be giving him enough credit. I'm going off the top of my head with that. He might have ran a better 40 than that. I love the additions that they made at receiver. I like this Raiders team a lot.
Jacoby Myers is a quality receiver too, man.
Yeah, man. I like this team a lot. I think that the Raiders will surprise some people this year.
Pete Carroll is somebody you should just have faith.
You got Pete Carroll. He's going to turn that thing around quick. Will I rule out the possibility of them making the playoffs? I guess not, but it's really hard to pick them to make the playoffs when you're talking about three teams in that division that are so fucking good, and the Broncos, the Chargers, and the Chiefs, man. It's gonna be a really hard year for the Raiders
to be really successful outside their division. They would have to win majority of the games outside of their division because I don't see them being any better than 2-4 in their own division, man. I do think this.
That's going to be tough.
If Ashton Genty can carry the success he's had as a college running back, like where he's, accounting for 50% of his team's offense, if he can do something like that in the NFL, I don't see how the Raiders don't push for the playoffs. I mean, if you can get that kind of success out of your run game, you know how easy it's going to be to call pass. You know what I mean? Like, if he can make the impact that he's made, and I don't think that he will, guys. I like the kid. I just don't. He's not going to be as dominant as he's been in the last.
His ability after contact is his biggest strength, and that's going to be the hardest one to translate to the
and
NFL,
his balance. Incredible.
Yeah, the contact balance is what gives them the ability after contact. Yeah. So, I mean, but like that's going to be tougher to execute in the NFL. I was kind of like piggybacking on your point. Like especially that will be the harder.
In the conference he played in, they weren't the best defenders and tacklers. And
I don't subscribe to that argument, but I get what you're saying, I guess. I think Genty's going to be a stud in the NFL. I think this offense is going to be drastically improved, and I think that defense has a couple real good players on it. And when you add Pete Carroll to that mix, man, I will not be surprised if they were competing for a playoff spot in the last week or two of the season. I would not. I like this Raiders team a lot. The thing that makes me say they won't make the playoffs is strictly the fact that they're in the toughest division in football, and I don't think that's close. So yeah, Raiders are my team.
Yeah, some other teams, man, that I think are much improved, but are not going to be playoff teams or even anywhere near it. I think the New York Giants are going to be a team that competes with people. I like the defensive line; they've stacked the hell out of it. There's just
I'm not going there.
I don't think. I think they could go from being what I thought. Well, we did it on the power rankings. We already did it, Dustin. This was a team that was almost dead last in the NFL last year. They were fighting for.
I think we had them like 26th or 25th.
Yeah, we put them from 31st to I think it was 25th, 24th,
26. It wasn't above 25. I know. I think it was 26. I got the list right here. Actually, let me tell you. Keep talking.
No, I think that defensive line is going to wreak havoc, and I think it's.
God damn it! We did put the Giants at 24.
I mean, but the teams we put behind weren't good, man. I mean,
we had, listen, I'll just run through it real quick. Number 32 was the Saints. Number 31 was the Titans. 30 was the Colts. 29 Browns. 28 Jets. What do we got here? 27 Panthers. 26 Patriots. 25 Seahawks. So we put the Seahawks behind them and the Patriots. You just said the Patriots are going to finish second in that division. So we put them behind the Giants. The Jaguars at 23, the Dolphins at 22, Cardinals at 21. We had the Cowboys 20, Raiders 19. I pushed hard to get them there because we were going to put them sooner. I did. I really fought for the Raiders to get higher on that list. The Falcons at 18, Packers at 17, Vikings 16, Bears 15. Yeah, we had the straight run of the NFC North teams there. 14, we had the Bengals. 13, we had the Steelers, and that was all Brandon. Brandon pushed real hard to get the Steelers there. That was we went back and forth on that. 12 was the Texans, which I hated doing. 11 Rams, 10 Niners, 9 Chargers, 8 Commanders, 7 the Broncos, 6 the Bucks, 5 the Lions, 4
VDoc
Fed.
says you read my mind, Dustin. Chip Kelly was a shit head coach, but elite OC.
Yeah, man, that's a damn good hire for Pete Carroll, I think. 4 was the Bills, 3 the Chiefs, 2 the Ravens, 1 the Eagles. VDoc says he actually likes what the Jets did this offseason. Me and Brandon did not. We had them as one of the 5 worst teams in the NFL.
I mean, I like Aaron Glenn. I think this
Yeah, I do
loss.
too.
Listen, the dysfunction that the Bears had under Matt Eberflus was pretty comparable to what's going on in New York, man. I mean, it's first off, Robert Saleh was a really bad head coach from probably the minute he became a head coach, Dustin. The Jets were finding it really hard to look past this or move on from it. And then they hired Nathaniel Hackett on account of Rodgers asking for them to. They went and signed guys like Lazard and Randall Cobb. I mean,
The Jets
that
are a
the
dysfunctional
dysfunction, yeah,
organization.
they were so far in shit that even if I like Aaron Glenn, it would take him some time to fix an
Oh,
organization like that.
listen,
Guys, that is the culture needs to change like it did in Detroit.
they hired a new GM, they hired a new coach, Brandon, but that ownership is still the same, and they meddle. They meddle. That
And
the dysfunction comes from the ownership there, very similar to how we felt about the Bears for many years, man. That very
the Lions
until
for
Kevin
2
Warren,
decades,
until
man.
Kevin Warren got here.
So Dan Campbell
The
did what he
Jets
did.
need a Kevin Warren.
Aaron Glenn was a part of what Dan Campbell did in Detroit, so maybe he's the guy to do it for the Jets. But it's going to take some time, man. The
Yeah,
Jets,
Mike.
and then I'm going to lay the hammer here. They signed a
Justin
quarterback
Fields.
that I just can't accept as a
No.
quarterback, guys. I'm sorry. He's a very talented player,
I
but
think
not
he's going to have a
football.
damn good season running the football, Brandon. I do. I
Yeah.
think they're going to utilize
That's
him
what
to his
I it just
strengths.
said. He's a very talented player, but
Yeah.
not throwing the
Yeah.
football.
Mike,
This guy plays his worst football when it matters most.
there was a story that came out that Woody Johnson's sons were making trade recommendations based on their Madden playing experiences. That's kind of what I'm saying. Like what we thought the McCaskies were to the Bears in terms of this dysfunction, that's what that ownership is to the Jets, and I don't think that's going anywhere because the Jets need a Kevin Warren
and the Giants as well,
and be the conduit between the football people and the owners, the business people. They need that person, and they don't have it.
The Giants as well. I mean, you're watching these guys ask their kids if they think they should trade, or I don't know what happened with the Giants. So what didn't he ask his wife who he should draft? Something
Joe
like
Shane.
that.
Yeah, no, he asked his kid. It was his kid. But yeah, V-Dog says Woody Johnson 10 times worse than McCaskey. We were not saying that a couple of years ago, V-Dog. Not even as recently as a year and a half, 2 years ago. Again, the difference is Kevin Warren and the role he has established himself in within this organization. That is the difference. The McCaskies meddled in coaching decisions, meddled in decisions that they really shouldn't have been a part of, and it did cause the dysfunction in this organization. I don't think that it was very far off from what the Jets have going on right now. I think Kevin Warren has been fixed to that, guys. We got to give credit where it's due there.
If you go back and watch the show, the Power Ranking show, that was one of the picks we were most proud of because
what's that?
Things like because
the
what's
Jets?
happening right now. So people defend the Jets this year, and that's why we thought we were kind of going against the grain when we put them 28th or whatever.
That's another team that gets overhyped consistently in my lifetime as well. Which I can't stand the Jets. I hate that team. I hate that organization. Not a fan in any way. We do it again.
And then I'm going to say this. I've said this before, guys. Try to wrap your head around this. The Jets pursued a starting quarterback that the last team that had him was so unimpressed by, they went and got the Jets QB. So,
yeah, I guess that's a chicken or the egg thing. We'll see who ends up right. I don't know if it's going to work out for either team, to be honest.
It won't. But
yeah, well,
not
listen,
run.
Based on I forget who asked the question about the Cardinals. Was it V-Dog or Dante? Yeah, we had the Cardinals 21. So again, we kind of think they're going to be basically where they were last year.
Pretty stagnant.
Feisty team, competitive team, has a chance to compete for the division all the way up until the last couple of weeks of the season. That's basically where we had them ranked. I guess my team that I would throw out here right now, it's the Niners, who we already talked about because you threw them out as a team that you had to throw them out as an honorable mention of regression. I think that they're a playoff team this year. And I've already listed out all the reasons, but the Niners are a team to me that was out of it last year. This year, they're going to have a bounce back season, be very competitive in their division and in their conference, and end up making the playoffs. The Niners are I nominate the Niners. V-Dog says you're right, and I believe George would be stuck in the 80s and never evolve his thinking if it wasn't for hiring Kevin Warren 2 years ago. Yeah, exactly my point, man. I always thought it was very similar between the Bears and the Jets in terms of that organizational dysfunction that started with the ownership and people who weren't football people making football decisions and really sticking their hands on shit they shouldn't have been touching. I think Kevin Warren has eliminated that. I don't know that that is something that's debatable. So I'm glad you agree with me on that, B-Dog. So yeah, I mean, I threw out the Raiders, the Niners. Me and Brandon both agreed on the Falcons. Brandon, did you have any other teams that you wanted to nominate out there for potential to surprise people this year?
Yeah, a team that we're too familiar with to be surprised by if there's any success, but I think the fans around the league in the NFL that aren't here in Chicago would probably be surprised. I think there's potential for the Bears to surprise people from what they like. We just
That's
talked
got to
about
be the last team we get out there,
the
100%.
dysfunction. Yeah, I think nobody expects even as you see them making these moves, just like last season with Keenan Allen and they Roma Dunze and drafting Caleb Williams.
Can't forget Ryan Bates.
I think the average fan outside of Chicago just thinks it's the same old fucking team that's going to do
More
all
of the
these
same.
things.
Yeah.
They're going to win the offseason and they're going to suck. So I think that's the general view from the outside NFL fan doesn't is that we're just not good. We're not going to be good no matter what. The Bears still suck is a slogan in Green Bay, right? Like
I'm sure.
that's things
I'm
people say. The
I'm
Bears
sure
still
fans.
suck.
I'm sure NFL fans outside of Chicago look at Chicago fans the same way we look at Dallas, right? You would think, right? Like they always think they're going to be good. The
Yeah, what a
Bears,
bunch of fucking idiots.
like the fucking stupid Bears fans always think their team's going to be good, and they always fucking suck.
Yeah, because remember Green
FCB.
Bay started say after the signing of Jay Cutler or the trading for Jay Cutler, the Green Bay started this the Bears still suck thing.
Bears still
It's
suck.
on a shirt because that's the mentality that most fans have is no matter what you do in the offseason, no matter how good you think you are, the Bears still suck. That's what people think. So yes, Dustin, long way overdrawn, but I think
Long-winded.
the Bears are definitely going to be on that list of teams that
The
are going
Bears,
to surprise people.
the Bears deserve a spot on that list. We've talked at at length about all of the additions that they made this offseason, whether it's the coaching staff, the players, and the alignment that they've achieved that they haven't had, and they got Ryan Poles locked up. I mean, just everything, all the vibes point towards what should become sustained success. Whether or not that turns into immediate success this season, that is going to be up for debate, and that's going to be decided on the football field. When you talk about some of the most improved teams, when you got the most improved unit in the NFL, and the Bears offensive line, you should be talked about as one of the most improved teams in general in the NFL, which should then put you in line to outperform your previous year's performance.
And
That,
and
in my
even
mind.
and even wiping the slate clean with the coaching staff and starting over, Dustin, I think any season, any team, anytime the first overall pick is going into their second year, because even first overall picks are expected to struggle as rookies when they're going into their second season. That's a team that's going to be under a fine microscope. He was the first overall pick. Caleb Williams, that hasn't gone away. People are going to be keeping an eye on him. I shared with you guys some texts today between Lions fans that were like there's actually that's what I'm saying. That the view is we suck. There's some text between Lions fans that they posted on social
That was
media where
Vikings. That was the
or
Vikings.
tweets. Sorry,
They
it
were
was the
from
Vikings
Vikings fans.
fans.
Yeah, yeah.
They were saying like, "Wow, the Bears are doing things that might actually make them relevant." And so,
It's like Vikings fans. I know we hate the Bears, but could we admit they might actually be good this year?
yeah.
That
But
was what that said. Yeah.
the Caleb Williams should be expected to have growth under Ben Johnson. So if you're, I think that'll surprise most people is the first overall pick blossoming into the player he's supposed to be. If that's the case, you know what I mean. The
So
Bears don't have quarterbacks.
for the
That's
people for the people in our chat that were saying fuck that, why can't the Bears do this? I think that was Dante. Like, yeah, why not? They have the team. They've put together a great coaching staff. They have put together a roster that this coach can utilize and play to their strengths. And I don't expect the things that were snake biting this team last year to pop up this year in terms of in terms of the team's discipline, in terms of the team's ability to close out a game. Like those things won't be popping up. So why can't it be the Bears this year? I don't understand why. Now and again, now's the time for hope. I think the Bears are totally a team that could become one of those 6 or 7 new playoff teams this year. The biggest thing against that in my mind, working against them is this schedule. It's just unbelievably difficult. They're going to have to beat really good teams to get into the playoffs this year, guys, which you wouldn't want it any other way if you're a professional competitor. You wouldn't want it any other way.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. There's just a lot of factors that are going to play into it, man. A lot.
Of course. There are every year for every team.
But yeah. I'll say this. If your ceiling view, which I think a lot of fans are, and I'm going to say even unbiased, because of what Ben Johnson's done in the NFL, he's had the best offense in football, and very much so. You know what I mean? Like no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Been a top 3 offense in the NFL the last 3 years. Yes.
If the ceiling for Ben Johnson is he's a Super Bowl winning coach who can create a dynasty in Chicago, and the ceiling for Caleb Williams is that he's a future Hall of Fame quarterback. If that's your ceiling, if these guys even if they come out of the gates even remotely close, Ben Johnson's just a fucking solid football coach as a rookie, and Caleb's growth shows in major ways. Why the hell couldn't the Bears make the playoffs? Caleb Williams and Ben Johnson are reaching the potential we believe they have early on.
That what you just said just reminded me that we have a whole segment we haven't got to.
I know. I know we still haven't done it. The possibility.
God damn, dude! It's already 2.5 hours. We just can't stop. Talking.
Yeah. Here, so let me show Sean's teams real quick, because like I said, Sean.
He's got the Bears on there too. I would imagine as one of those.
Oh, he does not. That's why I want to show. He's got some teams we talked about, some teams we didn't. This is Sean's teams. So on the teams
Niners,
on the way up,
Cards, Raiders,
the Niners. Okay. Cardinals, Raiders, the Niners, because
he's got 2 out of the 3 I had.
He thinks the Niners had time to heal up. He thinks the Cardinals. He thinks Gannon is going to continuously improve as a coach. He's going to continuously improve the Cardinals year by year, and not by great strides either. So again, Sean kind of agrees. Gannon's got this team moving in a direction, but slowly. So the Raiders, roster improvements, like we just talked about, guys. They've gotten better at pretty much every position. The Raiders have gotten better. The Packers, no love for Jordan Love. He's not a big fan of Jordan Love. He's been pretty vocal about that on this podcast. The Dolphins, Tua's healthy, is unfortunately not go well this season. Hopefully, God, we all pray that he's okay. But the Skins, we were pretty adamant about that. We're not calling the Commanders on the show, I guess. Sean wanted me to make sure that was
no. Well, here, listen, I can't agree with him on the Redskins or the Commanders.
No, I know. Dustin, honestly, this is why I wanted to show him. And you agreed with his Niners. We both kind of agreed.
I had the Niners and the Raiders. We both have me and Sean both have the Niners and the Raiders, yeah.
And I said the Cardinals either stay kind of what they finished with last year's record of 8-9, or they win one more game. That's what I said.
Yeah, it's not like we're low on the Cardinals.
I think that's what Sean. No, I think when he even texted me, I think he was kind of saying he's got his questions about them still, but he thinks they're slightly improved. And then the guys that we got to talk about the Commanders. We got to talk.
Well, we got the Packers and the Dolphins. We're on each. I had the Packers.
Yeah, no, his list wasn't far from ours, but the Commanders we got to talk about. Kyle and Sean have both stated this, so we're not beating them up. Well, they can't defend themselves. We've disagreed on air before, guys. I just don't see how the Commanders get worse. I think that they could regress a little bit. Even Jaden Daniels could after such a tremendous season. It would only make sense that he did. But still, this is a well-coached team. They've got a good quarterback who, even if he regresses, is still going to be a good quarterback. I don't see how the Commanders.
That's what it comes down to, Brandon. And let's pull this off the screen. But that's what it comes down to, Brandon, with the Commanders. And if you're banking on regression for them out of the playoffs, basically, then you're banking on regression from Jaden Daniels. That is not just, even if he that's like Jaden Daniels becomes the exact opposite of what he was last year, man. Like Jaden Daniels has to be really bad.
Yeah. Or like an injury, like a Jaden Daniels injury, but we don't want to do the injury thing, man.
They added Deebo Samuel and Laramie Tunsil. In terms of that, like there's not many better offensive additions.
Zach Ertz, we talked about him a little bit.
There's not many better offensive additions that a team has made in this offseason besides Debo Samuel, and Laramie Tunsil. It's hard to bank on regression from the Commanders for me. And they did just sign Von Miller. I don't know what that means. Their defense, he listed their did not address the defense. So, I mean, I get that to an extent. But Dan Campbell's a solid defensive coach, and I think he's still figuring it out. But
Well,
yeah, their defense was really bad last year. Really bad.
well, and we talked about it, man. Which show was it when we went through this? And we talked about most improved when the ESPN had the most improved or best off seasons. You asked me who else besides Zach Ertz, the re-signing of Zach Ertz, addition of Laramie Tunsil and Debo Samuel. What else did they do? I said to you, everything else was on the because we were going over offenses. Remember, Dustin? I said to you, everything else was on the defensive side of the football. So I can't give you like names right now, but the Commanders made a lot of signings on and drafted a lot of defensive players. So I mean,
Well,
they tried.
Dietrich Wise, Javon Kinlaw, Jacob Martin, Trey Amos, they added some defensive players to this roster. It's not like you said, it's not like it's for lack of trying. Now you add Von Miller. What up, MS? Thanks for joining us. Better late than
So
never,
they're
brother.
with Dan Quinn, their defense with better players, with more additions to the defense this year, they should be slightly improved.
I don't see it. Listen, is it out of the realm of possibility that the Commanders fall out of the playoffs? No, it's not. As I said, starting this segment, 6 to 7 teams every year fall out of the playoffs from the previous year. So, like, it's a total possibility. I would not bet on it with Jaden Daniels after I just watched him have the best rookie quarterback season I've ever seen, I've ever experienced. I just wouldn't bet on that. I think this guy is an elite weapon. The only thing that causes that, Brandon, as you said, is injury. If Jaden Daniels cannot play football, the Commanders will regress.
Yeah, and I think, like I said, I think their defense is going to be. I mean,
Thanks, bro.
he listed his reason as the defense, and they were egregious. They were one of the worst defenses.
One of the worst
in the
defenses in
NFL.
football
They
last
got
year.
the
Yeah.
ball ran down their throat to lose in the playoffs. I mean, embarrassed. They just
Mm-hmm.
literally
And
embarrassed in the playoffs.
their secondary wasn't really good either.
But
I mean,
I
yeah, it
don't
was
know.
bad all around.
And so, Sean, I have nothing. I don't think what you're saying is. I don't think it's a very bold prediction. I do. I think they could regress, and I think their defense could be a big reason why. But I don't think Dan Quinn's going to have a bottom of the league defense for very long.
No,
He's
and I
he's never been known for being a bad defensive coordinator. If there's one thing that works out well for Dan Quinn for the rest of his tenure as a head coach, that defense will be strong.
Razzle says we don't know if we have a monster of a head coach yet. People pump the brakes. We might have a high intensity Nagy. I would bet against that, Razzle. But again, you can say you don't know everything we're talking about, as I've told you many times. This is all speculation. We won't know until the results are there on the field. But we got to talk about it. And the way I look at it is different than the way you look at it in terms of what I think Ben Johnson is and what he has shown himself to be up to this point. And you just can't deny that he's surrounded himself. I think the comment you were referring to earlier, the Monstars, like it's a all-star group of coaches is really what it comes down to. Brandon, we're gonna have to save that 5 things that could derail the Bears season for Thursday, man, because I'm gonna have to get out of here pretty soon. We didn't get to it, unfortunately, but I think we got to a lot. Is there anything else you want to touch on? Is there any other teams that we didn't throw out there? I think, again, the Bears were the last one intentionally because the Bears have a legitimate shot to be one of those teams that goes from a bad team to a playoff team. But if they go from a bad team to a pretty damn good team that just misses the playoffs, that is still a win. Be happy with that.
Probably a surprise for most fans outside of Chicago.
Yeah, and it's probably their ceiling, guys. But doesn't mean they can't make the playoffs. It's just, I mean, that's a tough ask for a 5-win team under a new head coach.
No, guys, check us out Thursday night. We're sorry, we do apologize. We're going to push off it's 5 things that could spoil the Bears season outside of injury. So not regarding injuries.
Yeah, we're going
Check
to
us
play
out
devil's
Thursday night.
advocate on that. Yeah, we're going to play
And
devil's
then-
advocate on that and kind of paint the picture of what are the 5 most important things that could go wrong for the Bears that lead to basically a disaster of a season, right, Brandon? So
Yeah, I
join
wouldn't want
us
to forget to
Thursday for
mention,
that.
guys, Wednesday, obviously prior to Thursday night, Wednesday, Kyle and Sean will be back for their Barely There podcast. They're probably going to be doing some fantasy stuff. They're going to be pretty hard on that, I think, before the season starts. And then We have, oh yeah, so that's going to be, and right now those guys are at a Cubs game that I think is going pretty damn well. The last time I saw, the Cubs were beating the shit out of. I think they're playing
Aren't the
Seattle.
Royals a bad
The
team? They're playing the
Royals,
Royals.
yeah, the Royals are bad.
Royals
Yeah,
are a very bad team,
I'm going
man.
to the Cubs game tomorrow night, by the way, so that should be fun, guys. But then check us out
Might
again
not see
Saturday.
PCA tomorrow either, brother.
Saturday, that would suck, man.
Yeah,
Thanks,
that's probably
thanks
what's
for
going to happen.
blowing that, man. I was feeling excited. No, but guys, make sure you check out Saturday, 11 o'clock, Northside 9, Kyle and Sean's Cub Show. They'll have a lot to talk about after today, right? So, and then we'll be back
Razzle,
Monday for the
join
Halas
us
Hall.
Thursday. We're gonna list the things that could go wrong for the Bears. We're not just all roses and saying the Bears are a playoff team. I have not picked wins and losses yet, and I'm not going to until the very last minute because I want to have as much information as possible before I do that. I'm not picking wins yet. So, but we're gonna talk on Thursday, me and Brandon, about what are the things that could happen, that could go wrong, that could make for a very tough season for Chicago Bears and its fans. And I think it'll be an interesting exercise
things with a very
based on
high
how we've been
possibility,
going.
not
Yeah,
things
yeah.
that are far fetched. The realities.
Oh shit! Mike Ross says it's 12-4 Royals.
Holy
I
shit.
think you read that scoreboard the wrong way, Brandon.
No, I think they were up like 4-1, man. There was a point where Bruce shared it, and they were up, man. I mean, I was thinking, yeah, they got rocked.
That's fucking Sean and Kyle can't go to Cubs games no more, man. That's just
no PCA can't be removed from your lineup.
No, I think it's the fact that Sean and Kyle
you lost your best offensive and defensive player in one game. It sucks, man.
God, I wish they would have checked in with how the game's going. That would have been fun content because Sean would have been pissed and drunk.
Yeah, I'm with you, Bruce. When baseball is going poorly, I just turn it off.
And let me just say this, Sean, I said Cole Kmet's not a good player in a moment of weakness. I was heated. It was a heated discussion, and I was just trying to make. I was vulnerable. I was just trying to make a point, and I went too far. Okay,
Cole Kmet is a decent player.
Cole Kmet is a solid tight end in the NFL. You could have much worse. I'm happy he is a tight end for the Bears. I just want better out of the position. Hopefully, Colston Loveland is that. But I don't think that Cole Kmet is not a good player. Don't take that seriously, please. Just a side
I won't even watch all the way to this. Once he hears it, he just turns it off.
He fucking texts me, Cole, why are you always 3 weeks in a row you're dogging Cole Kmet?
He turns the show off to text you. You're like, but you didn't get to the rest of it, man.
As soon as I said it, I was like, 3 weeks in a row now we have talked about Cole Kmet and it hasn't been good. And
I don't think I said anything. I don't think I said anything.
I don't think I said anything the previous time. I was actually, kind of made a case for Cole Kmet in some ways, but like between you and me, when we have a show, it seems that it just gets talked about and mentioned that way.
Yeah, the Cubs need to be winning games like these. The Brewers are they're tied, actually. They're tied right now, which is insane.
And the Brewers basically can't hit the baseball, and they're still winning.
Well, and they lost the manager that everyone credited for their playoff appearances, and he's our manager, and now they just up and decide to have the best year of their fucking lives, man. I mean, they're tied right now for first in MLB.
Mike Ross says we need a Kyle Pitts segment every show. On top of the fact that I said Cole Kmet is not a good player, you on the same show said Kyle Pitts is a good option at tight end in fantasy.
Oh, I still believe that. I'm going to stand firm on that, man. I'm not wavering from that. I don't say things just to say things. It's going to be my take.
I know. I'm just saying it's just like icing on the cake. Like we're talk down Cole Kmet, talk about.
Oh yeah, we had Pitts has to come up now, and he bring it now, and that's which is funny because the guy has actually probably better statistics over the course of his career. But yeah. Let's hang it up, man. I appreciate you hanging out. It was a good, fun show as always. And Thursday we will definitely clean up those season spoilers.
Real quick, Mike Ross, Razzle Dazzle, Breaking News, Bruce, Ant Mass, Vizzo Joe was in here. V Dog bringing the heat. Dante Purify as always. Calvin C, thanks for joining us. Jed was in here as well. DJ Profit,
thank you,
Ron Winarski.
Much love. Thank you.
Relentless Mikey at the top of the show was with us, man. Everybody in here, y'all were great. Appreciate you very much. Hit that like button on the way out if you have not already. Ant Mass, my brother.
Ant Mass.
Yeah, man. Everybody, hit that like button on the way out. Share this with a friend. Come back with us on Wednesday. And then on Thursday, me and Brandon gave you all a teaser for what we'll be talking about. So, Razzle, maybe you'll like that show. This has been a blast. This has been the Halas Hall Hangover. Love you. Bear down.
Bear down.